I love my pie hole, Adam. I love my pie hole, Adam.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, February 21st, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1114.
This is No Agenda.
Preparing to fry and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the sun is shining and global warming is in full play, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, I'm glad you've got it in full play. We could use some of that over here in Texas. It's code.
It's code?
It's code. It's very
Everyone
code.
should learn to code.
It's very code. Very code. Hey, man, doesn't matter. We're all going to get nice and warm. The president said so this morning. Did you see his tweet?
From what? They're going to have nuke us?
Close enough. I quote from Donald J. Trump on Twitter. I want 5G, even 6G technology in the United States as soon as possible. It is far more powerful, faster, and smarter than the current standard. American companies must step up their efforts or get left behind. There's no time to waste. 6G. 6G.
Who the hell? 6G.
6G.
Who the hell was writing that for him? He doesn't even know what 5G is.
There's barely even a standard, but as predicted on this show, that's where he's going to go for growth. He sees it finally. He says we need to grow the economy, that we got to really push that funky, phony 5G stuff and fry everybody at the same time. It's a double whammy. Some people won't make it. It's what it is.
Well, you know, it is a form of Darwinism.
I got a quick interview, just since we're on this topic, with the founder of Huawei. You did? How'd you get a hold of him? Oh, I'm sorry. You presented it funny. Okay, go on. The founder's name is Ren Zhengfei, and I think Zhengfei. Do you know? Is that wrong?
I have no idea. I've only heard his name pronounced once.
Ren Zhengfei. But it's a short interview from Europe, but I liked it. It's a good retort to this, the president saying that we're going to be the kings of 5 and 6G.
There's no way the US can crush us. The world needs Huawei because we are more advanced. Even if they persuade more countries not to use us temporarily, we could just scale things down a bit. And because the US keeps targeting us and finding fault with us, it has forced us to improve our products and services.
What kind of impact would it have on your business if the U.S. is successful in getting many of its partners in the West to shut your equipment out?
If the lights go out in the West, the East will still shine. And if the North goes dark, then there is still the South.
Isn't that great? But don't worry, it'll be plenty bright with our 5G burning up the universe.
America doesn't represent the world.
Oh.
How important
Yes, we do.
is the future of Huawei in the UK with regards to your investment plans and jobs? Are you able to guarantee that you will not be pulling out of the UK, you will not be taking jobs out of the UK?
We will continue to invest in the UK. We still trust in the UK, and we hope that the UK will trust us even more. We will invest even more in the UK, because if the US doesn't trust us, then we will shift our investment from the US to the UK on an even bigger scale.
Oh, yeah, that'll make a lot of friends.
Mr. Wren, I would like to raise the issue of your daughter. This is
This is very interesting. So he's going to talk about his daughter in a way that no dad really talks about his daughter.
Very challenging time for you. She is in Canada. She's been arrested by the U.S.'s request, and she faces extradition. How do you feel about this, and what will you do if she is sent to jail?
I object to what the US has done. This kind of politically motivated act is not acceptable. The US likes to sanction others whenever there's an issue. They'll use such methods. We object to this. There's no impact on Huawei's business due to Meng Wanzhou's loss of freedom. In fact, we're growing even faster. So they caught Meng Wanzhou. Maybe they got the wrong person.
I don't know if that's just the translation. I wonder if he actually said it that way. So they caught her, whatever, implying that she's kind of guilty of something. But that may just be the translation.
of freedom.
Yeah,
In
I'm
fact,
sure it
we're
is.
growing even faster. So they caught Meng Wanzhou. Maybe they got the wrong person. They may have thought if they've arrested her, Huawei would fall. But we didn't fall. We are still moving forward. Our company has established processes and procedures and no longer relies on any one person. Even if I myself go one day, this company won't change its trajectory forward.
他不太了解这个情形。
All right.
Jeez.
There you go.
Well, that guy seems cocky.
He's on the warpath, man. I'm
Yeah.
messing around. Anyway, I'll just wrap up the 5G since we're here anyway. Motorola has, I guess they have some specs on their 5G Moto Mod.
Motomod.
Moto Mod. And it has a feature that limits
Yes.
that
By
limits
the way,
radiation.
This should tell you everything.
So if you have your finger near an antenna, the antenna will sense that and will stop frying your finger. It really does say
This
a
was
lot.
by the way, this I think was the worst. I think this was one of the worst press releases or announcements I've ever heard
Ever.
regarding a technology, because it's exactly what you said.
What did I say?
That it's going to fry your
Yeah.
finger if you touch it. This doesn't sound like something people want to put next to their head.
Well, lots of people will, but not the no agenda peeps. We're too smart. And it was the only other 5G article I have is, because of course everyone's all jacked up about having their city be the smartest city. And in the Netherlands, in The Hague, the seat of the Dutch government, by 2020, they're very proud to say they'll be the first city in Holland completely 5G enabled.
I remember when we had the Seoul Olympics, the Winter Olympics
Mm-hmm.
in Korea, and that was supposed to be lit up by 5G. And that was a big deal. They went on and on and on about it.
I
don't know if it
remember
was
that.
5G it was. I don't think it may have been Huawei's, but I'm not sure. It could have been anyone's. Ericsson's, perhaps. And it was like they made a big deal about it at the beginning, and then everyone's going to be supposed to be getting these 5G phones. Nobody got anything. There was no
phones.
action
No.
on this network.
It was an early stake in the ground.
It was an early BS stake.
Fair warning for you, John. I made an investment in the show. I am on a new rig today.
Well, this is what we have the sound issue then.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why do you have a new rig?
Well, I'm always looking. Whenever I'm on the road, two
Are you
things.
on the road today?
No, tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning we leave early for Des Moines, Iowa, where we have.
Des Moines, Iowa is 10 degrees. That's okay. Now, is this rig good for cold weather?
Let me tell you the story. I don't know. We'll find out, won't we?
Oh, wait a minute. Stop. So, in other words, since you're going on the road tomorrow, let's use all new gear.
No, that's why we're testing it today. You see, I'm being very smart. I mean, I could swap everything out in a heartbeat and be on my standard rig. Well, it would be a couple heartbeats. But I just wanted to explain why. When I'm on the road, there's always less bandwidth, no matter what you're using. There's less than at home. So prep time takes longer as is. And the computers I had, which the first one I had was just a huge screen. It's like, it's like an HP 17-inch screen or something. Real heavy clunker. Because I just wanted one screen and a touch screen. But of course, it's a regular hard drive, and it takes forever for the thing to boot up, and everything takes longer, and I can't miss more speed, so I needed more speed. Didn't want to add to the weight, the physical weight, and lo and behold, I'm at Costco of all places, and they had a $200 off on the Surface Pro 6.
Okay.
And so I got one, and I have two external screens. One is I think I told you about this screen. It runs off of USB 3.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You just plug it into USB and then it works.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. So this rig I got to say, I can do my nails while I'm running the show.
I'm stunned that you buy anything at Costco.
Why?
Because you swore that you would never frequent Costco again.
I know, but then,
in front of me, I heard you do it.
Yes, it took a woman's touch. The keeper convinced me.
Get you off the ledge?
The keeper convinced me. Yeah. Two quick mentions up front. For those wondering, noagendasocial.com is currently offline. And that is because Aaroner, who runs the whole shebang, says that there's some horrible Linux compromise thing going on that's been lurking deep in the code for 8 years. And he says I'm taking everything off. He says I'm taking everything offline until I can get it patched or figure it out. He's a security expert in real life, so you can understand. He's like, you can't even email me. I'm taking my email server offline. So you're pretty serious.
Is the Russians doing? I mean, what?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything.
Report.
I couldn't find anything online about it, and he can't email me because he's completely off the grid.
Can he go to the library maybe and send you a Gmail?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Anyway.
So I've had my issue. I was doing Horowitz on Thursday. The DHM plug show every Thursday.
Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. I said Thursday, but I meant Tuesday. And everyone knows it's Tuesday.
It's actually Sunday.
And so I'm talking yakking, and he's not hearing anything. Or I'm not hearing him, he's hearing me. I hear everything he's saying, typing. So I said, let me just, it's got obviously there's just a setting. And
just a little twist.
At the top of Skype, there's a menu that says options, tools, got all these things. I look at, where'd that go? I'm looking, it's not there. So I think, wait a minute, I probably had the wrong screen up. I'm going to look at another screen. No, it's still not there. What happened to all this stuff? And so it's gone. So you can't really do anything. And so I realized, what do I get? How do I look at my audio settings? So the way you look at your audio settings, it turns out, is you have to take the pointer, the little arrow floating around on the screen.
Yeah.
And you have to put it into the box, the giant Skype box, and then up in the upper right-hand corner,
it doesn't show up. You mean it doesn't show up before you put your pointer over the screen? Right. Yeah.
Now, can I ask you? Let me ask you a couple of questions. You know how to code?
Yeah, I've learned.
Why do I have to put? Okay, I get the screen. It's like right now, it's just a big blank. It's just a big black thing with the picture of your little icon in the middle and nothing else.
Right.
There's a little icon of my icon on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to move the pointer into the box, and now all of a sudden your name shows up.
Mm-hmm.
The little phone, the hang-up thing shows up. A bunch of stuff shows up. And by the way, if I don't move the pointer, it all goes away.
Yeah.
And boom, it just disappeared. So I have to move the pointer again, so it all shows up again. What is the point of that? Why isn't this information? Why doesn't it just stay put? Is this some aesthetic thing that I don't? Oh, you don't want to see all this stuff because you just want to see a big, giant black box. You don't want to know anything. So unless I'm moving the pointer around, I don't get to see any of this stuff. Now, so that little gear up in the upper right-hand corner also goes away if you don't move the pointer.
Let me just say two things. One, a typical Silicon Valley credo is we really want the UI to get out of the way. The UI should get out of your way. It shouldn't be in your way. So that's probably what's going on there. But remember, we use it just for audio. I would say a lot of people use it for video, and that's really, that big black screen won't be there because that would be the video from your call participant.
Onward. Nothing's getting out of the way. If the whole thing disappeared off the screen, I'd be more appreciative, but it doesn't. So I'm moving this thing around. So there's a little gear in the corner. So if I go up to the gear and kick on it, it gives me a little classical Windows menu. It says window. Then it says it's float. Do you want it to float?
What does that even mean?
It says float, and then
John,
it says
just give
audio
up.
And visual.
It's the Russians.
Video. That's what I want.
It's the
I'll
Russians.
go down there. I'll click on that.
They hate you.
Now I get my audio and video settings, and I get the microphone showing it some, like a VU meter, and I get speakers, and so now I can change I can change from one speaker set to another, or I can turn off, adjust speaker settings, automatic, all that, and then there's something down here I can't see. I see it says test audio.
Hey,
and it says,
I'm sorry you're so disturbed by it, but you do sound good. So let's just be happy it works.
But there you go. There's your Silicon Valley mantra. And I think that is a Silicon Valley. Oh, just behave. You're lucky to be alive. You should thank God for us.
Now you're transferring your anger towards me, and I just want to do a show. I just want to do a show.
I don't get to see the jitter anymore. I don't get to see anything. And worse is this little audio and video settings thing. At the bottom, you can see there's a little switch, but it's off screen. And can I get down to it? Oh, I can't. Okay, never mind. I can do that. Wow. It was a lot better before. It was a lot better before.
Okay, I got it. I'm a little bored now. Let's move on. Let's start the show. Let's get something going. People don't have the same anger you do.
Okay, so talking about tweeting, here's Kamala Harris when she was called out on the tweet she made about the Joomla guy, whatever his name is.
Jussie Smollett?
Jussie. She said it was a modern day lynching, and so somebody calls her out. They ambushed her in I don't know, mall or something. They asked her these questions, and if you just listen to her, it's apparent she did not write the tweet saying it was a lynching. She didn't even know it existed.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching. That
sorry,
yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned.
I really like this because if you see the video, she actually turns her head and like, what tweet? You can see.
She looks at the woman who does the
tweets. And then she kicks into automatic mode. Let me say this about that case. This is one of our favorites. Let me say this about that. What does she say? We have to figure it out.
It's still unfolding is what she said. It's still unfolding. But she has to go back and chew the – people have to stop. And by the way, I thought this was the excuse Roger Stone could use because he got called out. Because Roger Stone, who was arrested, they threw a gag order on him because he couldn't stop talking. And so then he tweeted something, and they brought him back into court and chewed him out for it. And I'm thinking he's missing out. He can now say, I do not do my own tweets. I don't even know how to use Twitter because – I don't think half of these politicians are doing their own tweets. I think it's already known. We had insiders tell us that Trump doesn't do them all.
No.
What's the point if Obama never did his? If you remember when Obama had the Obama account, he would have it was the President Obama account. It said on the bio it says all tweets written by the president are followed by the letters BO.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, because he wasn't doing those tweets. So if nobody's doing the tweets, what's the point of all this bull crap?
All you got to remember is when it comes to Jussie Smollett,
people are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
There you go. Actually,
classic.
I do have a couple of
classic.
I do have a couple of fun clips about this. My favorite, which I'll start with in case we get bored, is Don Lemon last night. Oh, man. So
how can you watch this guy?
Well, Tina was having coffee with her daughter, and so I'm sitting alone, and I'm switching back and forth just to see what people were doing, and it was, 75% was this Smollett case, which, I don't know. I mean, there's 20 people a week get killed in Chicago. No one ever talks about that in Chicago. No one ever talks about it on the mainstream cable news. No, this is much more important.
Yeah, not one person is even mentioned.
But I thought the fun thing about Don Lemon, the overnight sensation, is that when he talks, it's all about him, about how important he is, how fantastic he is. And of course, he's going to throw Smollett under the bus. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure this is worldwide news. I've seen it everywhere in Europe. So everyone knows how important it is. This is what consumes us here in the United States. So I'm not so interested in the case as I am about how the media responds to themselves. Got to listen to Don here.
Listen, I just want to talk about these stunning developments tonight in the Jussie Smollett story. The story that everyone is talking about. And I know people have been wondering what I had to say about it, but
oh yeah, Don, we're sitting at home,
We're
just
on pins and needles.
just can't wait to see what Don has to say about it. Don, please, please give us your wisdom.
And I know people have been wondering what I had to say about it, but here it is. So everybody gather around the television set.
Gather around the television set. Uncle Don's gonna tell us everything.
And as you may know, Jussie is gay, and since 2015, he has played a gay character, Jamal Lyons.
Why didn't he say openly gay or Jesse happens to be gay? That would have been much cooler.
On
Jesse's openly black.
Empire.
What did he say?
He said, as you know, Jesse's openly gay.
He says openly gay.
No, he's just gay. He didn't say openly. He should have.
Jussie is gay.
Jesse is gay.
And since 2015, he has played a gay character, Jamal Lyons, on Empire. So it's a little bit personal for me, and I'll tell you why, because that's when I met him.
Oh.
I was asked to come on the show, play myself in a little cameo. He said
a little cameo. I'm Don Lemon here to play myself on the show. So that's where I met him.
Introduced himself, and he said, I'm a big fan of, I love your work. It's good to have you here on the set.
So he introduced himself to Jesse, and Jesse said, I love your work, big fan. Don, you're the best. How can anyone say this about themselves? That's real ego right there.
Myself in a little cameo. He introduced himself, and he said, I'm a big fan of, I love your work. It's good to have you here on the set. Very nice guy. We chatted for a couple times after that. I saw him. I've seen Don Lemon drunk on CNN. I just wonder if that's how it went. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Don, I really loved your work. Or was it more like, girlfriend, how you doing? We're going to drop this meeting. We're going to do this. I just have a feeling it was a little different. Maybe when he came to New York a couple of times. I know him. Not best friends, but... Oh, not best friends all of a sudden. I do know him. So I spoke to him while he was at the hospital. Not best friends or anything. His friend who was there texted me in the middle of the night and said, hey... Called him in the middle of the night. They were not really best friends, so, it was kind of odd.
I feel obliged to call him at the hospital. How many people out there have called people who you don't have a good friendship with at the hospital? You don't do it.
And I think he says his friend, Jussie's friend texted Don, and then Don called because, he's not really his friend. Yeah, just whatever. I do know him. So I spoke to him while he was at the hospital. His friend who was there texted me in the middle of the night and said, hey, this happened to Jussie. I called a friend. The friend happened to be there. And Jussie said, oh, Jussie's here. Here's the phone. So he told me in his own words what he said happened. But I've also got to tell you, to be quite honest, that a lot of people, including people in the community, my favorite. Which community, Don?
People of color and gay people. Oh, it's the people of color community. Or is that a separate community, gay people, people of color? Is that a community?
Don would know.
Don and Jussie, they are the community. But listen to how he's saying, he can't bring himself to say, I doubted this. I didn't think this was bull crap from the beginning. No, the people, just people, not Don, people. Including people in the community, people of color and gay people, had questions about this from the very beginning, the veracity of this story. A lot of people were reasonably skeptical about Jussie's story. Some of the details just didn't seem to make sense. And as we always say around here, facts first. Facts first, everybody.
That's an ISO.
Yeah, I will ISO that.
Say around here, fact first.
Fact
That's
first.
The way to end the show.
That's right. Oh, hey, that was weird. Oh, this one.
Fact check false.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't mean to shoot anybody. So it was fun to watch people's heads explode. And this was yesterday. Charles Blow of the New York Times. I think he's a columnist, not a reporter.
Yes.
And he just couldn't wrap his head around it.
Well, listen, if Jussie has done what the Chicago police
say he has done, it's not just that he's an actor, Brian. This is an insane person. This is a psychopath. Like, and there's nothing in his history that suggests that he's a psychopath.
But why
So that is why it's so hard for everybody to. That's why people
Hold on
are
a
waiting
second.
trying to.
Stop it. What do you mean in his history? Well, this guy, I've never heard of this guy. I mean, I may have seen him on the show, but I've never heard of this guy. I didn't know he has a history. He's not a big shot celebrity that's on TMZ all the time that we would know anything about him.
No.
Was Charles Blow one of his pals?
No, I think like Don Lemon, he's just not his best friend. You know, they just met. You know, he really liked Michael's work. You know, I love your work, Michael Charles Blow, great name, love your work.
Nothing in his history that suggests that he's a psychopath.
But why
that is why it's so hard for everybody to. That's why.
And by the way, I think Jussie got around, man. There's pictures of him hanging out with everybody, so maybe not to the public that much. But definitely the Hollywood set and the political set.
People are waiting, trying to figure out, like, please go back and interview him, Chicago PD. But we need to understand what's the motive, because nothing. I met him one time. He was the sweetest. It was just in passing.
See, he met him. Nothing in his history. He was the sweetest. I mean, he was just a great guy. I mean, how could he do anything crazy?
I met him one time. He was the sweetest. It was just in passing at Essence Fest, and I was with
Essence Fest.
I like the way I met him, but it was just in passing.
Yeah,
I didn't know him, but I just met him. I think these guys are covering something up the way they're presenting it.
Well, shouldn't they just say, he's in the
guy.
community?
I liked him. He's a nice guy.
Well, no, I think they're so chicken shit to be associated with him that they can't say, hey, I'm really disappointed. He's my friend. I can't believe that he did this, or if he did it, or if true, or whatever it is. No. This is what you get in the community.
Yeah.
This is your community brethren right here.
It's the sweetest. It was just in passing at Essence Fest, and I was with a girl I went to college with. She's a big fan, and she had to have a picture. He was the most gracious person, and I think that's the kind of feeling that people have.
I like that. New York Times writer here. Well, he took pictures with people when they asked. He's so awesome.
About him. So if you did this, we need to know, like, are you crazy? Like, did you literally, like, lose it? Or because nothing is adding up about why he would do this.
Mm-hmm. We'll find out, maybe. Two more, just because I have them. This is the part of the story I'm very interested in, which I haven't been able to get any more information on.
Also this morning, we're working to get more information about why Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx decided to step down from this case. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx has recused herself from the case. Her office saying out of an abundance of caution, the decision to recuse herself was made to address potential questions of impartiality based upon familiarity with potential witnesses in the case.
I'd like to know what wouldn't be potential witnesses in the case. That's very odd. Very odd, this.
Well, now that you're bringing all this weird stuff up, yeah.
Well, there's one other thing I noticed, just since everyone's trying to figure out what really happened. And
well, can I stop?
Let me give you an extra.
What the basic theory is?
Sure.
The basic theory was that a couple of weeks earlier, he got a threatening note done as a poison pen letter style note with the cutout letters threatening him.
John, who in 2019 still cuts out letters from a magazine to paste it on paper to threaten someone? I mean, who does that? When is the last
artist?
Son of Sam? I mean, who's the last one to do that? It's crazy.
So he sent this thing, and he made us fuss about it, and it got zero attention,
right?
Because it was bogus, and I guess everyone sensed that it was. And so he got irked by the fact that no one was paying any attention to him. It's just like, this could happen to Don Lemon, by the way. And so he went off the rails and hired a couple of people to do this, to create this situation. He was just upping the ante to get some. He needed some press. TMZ wasn't talking about him. That's the basic theory.
Yeah, I really don't believe that. I really don't believe that people do things to get press. Not this. Something else is happening. I think it was an excuse that he needed. Remember, the initial thinking here in Austin was he was involved in some weird sex thing, and it was. But I'll tell you why I'm still hanging on to that. He flew in to Chicago that evening from I don't know where, but he posted on Instagram, wow, it was only a 2-hour flight, but it took me 7 hours to get here. I'm like, what happened in those 5 hours? What flight was it? Was he really on the tarmac for 5 hours? Was he stuck somewhere else? He didn't Instagram anything during those 7 hours or 5 of them that he's not flying. What happened? Seems like there's an extra 5 hours he did something, and I don't know.
Well, I think he exaggerated. He was stuck in. If he was coming in from New York, which I have to assume, he could have been delayed by a couple hours because of that jet stream incident, which happened.
I don't know. It's just these two brothers. They seem gay to me.
Okay. Well, now that you're going to bring that up, I will bring up another possibility, which seems to be what they're talking about in Austin. And we have this situation in San Francisco. We had a city supervisor who was one of these guys. There are certain members of the male gay community who like to get beat up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is kind of where Austin was going. Yeah.
So they get
it's a community. You said community. I love that.
It is the getting beat up community is a community, I believe.
Yeah.
And they get beat up. And we had a city councilman here that was one of these guys. And there's been other ones. And there's been a couple of comics that were these guys. And they would look to get beat up and have somebody kick the crap out of him. He was either just a couple of random guys or somebody. There's another guy who likes to beat guys up. So that possibility is a real one, but why would he then pin it on a bunch of MAGA guys? Because he was embarrassed about this behavior? Or
no, maybe that was his whole fantasy.
To get oh, wow.
Why not?
Now you're talking.
Yeah, hey, it's as long as crackpot's my name. Don't wear it out. Anyway.
That's actually not a bad theory.
Well, and then so he got the cut on his face
by a couple of Trump ruffians.
Well, he got the cut on his face. He has to explain it, and then he comes up with a story, and then you think, I'll just go report it, and it turns out the cops, they take it seriously. Show me your phone. I can't show you my phone. Anyway, here's the wrap-up for me. This was Good Morning America. It was Robin. Is it Robin Wright? Robin?
No, Robin Wright's the actress.
Yeah, no, the...
Robin,
she's a community member, and she interviewed Jussie, and this was the in-depth interview where apparently he just lied. So this is very upset this morning, and they brought in Sunny Hostin from The View, who's an attorney, as you know, to Robin Roberts, that's her name. To discuss this.
As a former prosecutor, I will tell you that what is very difficult about this case is many, many hours were spent investigating it. And Chicago is this area is a very, very high crime area. And so those police hours could have been spent investigating other crimes.
What the police are saying right now is that they didn't use resources that would have been used on other homicides, but there are clearly costs involved here, and any settlement would have to involve paying back those costs.
And also think about the larger issue here, which is the chilling effect on crime victims coming forward. I spent many, many, many hours trying to get victims of crimes to come forward to testify against their abusers, against their attackers, and they didn't want to come forward because people they thought would not believe them. They thought that there would be repercussions. They thought that there would be consequences. This type of crime, if true, has a tremendous chilling effect.
This touches all the buttons.
It does.
It's a setback for race relations. Homophobia, MAGA supporters who the fingers are pointed at them.
Yes.
I cannot think of another case where there's this anger on so many sides, and you can understand why there would be.
And the best part still remains: not a single one of them says, "Wow, we have some part in this."
True. He has almost single-handedly had this chilling effect on the LGBTQ community, on the black community, on a
lot of communities, on the guys getting beat up community.
The victims, and just there's already this divisiveness that we're seeing in our country. A deal in this kind of case, this kind of high-profile case, I think may be very difficult to come by.
Yeah, I think that's right. And again, when you watch, I think your interview is going to be evidence in this case.
No question.
That sort of locks him in there to a particular account. And when you watch, God, it is so hard to watch that again. Him talking about how anyone who would ever make something up like this, etc. And that's what everyone in America is thinking right now. Is exactly what he said right there.
He is. We should be mindful. He is, of course, entitled to the presumption of innocence.
No.
But my goodness, if a grand jury has indicted him, he has been arrested.
No.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
That's the CIA director, okay, Robin? That's how it works.
Because he has said he he hadn't done it.
Yes.
Brothers are saying one thing, he's saying another. How do you get through that he said, she said process?
You look for objective evidence. You look for something that is beyond just accounts. You look for texts, emails, e-receipts, videos, surveillance, etc.
That's all assuming a fight, though. I mean, but it is possible. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but it is possible that if in that statement he gave to the police this morning, he comes out, he then confesses and says, I did do this, that could be the path towards more leniency.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm a community member. Let me go.
Absolutely. If you take responsibility, prosecutors always look very, very kindly on that. I always did.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you get a deal. I mean, it still could mean you're pleading guilty to the crime you were charged with.
And you can't really look to the brothers, because the brothers are not getting immunity here, right? The brothers, didn't the police?
There's no indication yet.
There's no indication.
Their lawyers saying they don't need immunity, right? Their lawyers saying that there's no concern.
Yeah, fine. The media is shameful here. They already were, because they took it at face value. Whatever was on Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, and everyone's in the blue checkmark Twitter sphere, and they're all like, and I remember Stephanie Rule crying on air, "This is the worst news I've ever had to read. I can't believe it." And just to show you how insignificant this is, Fashion house Burberry didn't think about it.
Burberry is apologizing over a London Fashion Week outfit featuring a hoodie with a noose around the neck, amid an online controversy suggesting the fashion retailer has pulled the item, which was featured in its autumn-winter collection called Tempest.
So apparently they had a marine theme, and they thought this it's a slip knot, basically. But it's very unfortunate.
Stupid.
It's very unfortunate.
It looked like a noose.
Yes, idiots. Let's stick with
their top marketing person to Apple years ago, and it hasn't been the same since.
Is that where? Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Was the woman you're right?
She went over to Apple, and she became the kind of one of the chiefs over there.
Now, did she do retail? Who was?
Yeah,
she just left.
Retail. She does the stores.
She just left.
Sorry?
She just left Apple.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah, which I think is a bad sign, personally.
So yeah, probably. People like that. There's not just. I always like to say there's always somebody in an organization that's the John Lasseter effect. I think you're going to see a lot of mistakes made and a lot of money lost and a lot of stuff that in large amounts of money, because Lasseter's not there. You know, the big hugger over at Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go because he hugged too many people.
Right.
And it was politically incorrect to hug in California, mind you. So he's out, but he was the guy, because his name was he was never producing. He was writing a lot of this stuff, but he was mostly a script fixer and a guy. He was the guy who would say, no, we don't do that because of this. No, you can't do this. And after a while, I guess it gets on your nerves. You got some guy telling you not to do stuff. But you need those people, and you get rid of him, and next thing you know, you're going to see issues. Toy Story 4 already has issues. I think that's
another movie I probably won't go and watch anyways. No skin off my nose.
Well, we're on this.
Oh, I was going to stay in the community, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. Because now I want to stay in the community too. So let's go continue with where you're.
Oh, I'm going to stay in the LGBTQ community, although I believe it's LGBTQAAPK. The Trump administration launching a fantastic initiative to stop the aggression and hostility towards gay people around the world, with a slight little twist.
NBC News is reporting exclusively that the Trump administration is now launching a global campaign to stop countries around the world from criminalizing homosexuality, especially countries where being gay can lead to the death penalty.
Ooh, what countries do we have? Let me see. What country could be number one on their list?
U.S. Ambassador to Germany Richard Grenell, the highest profile openly gay person at a high rank in the Trump administration, is
unbelievable. As a gay guy in the Trump administration, it can't be true.
Leading this effort, kicking off tonight in Berlin. Joining me now from Berlin, NBC national political reporter Josh Letterman, who broke this story. Josh, tell me about what propelled this. Why did Rick Grenell take this on?
Well, Andrea, here in Berlin tonight, Rick Grenell will be kicking off this campaign that involves a lot of other U.S. embassies as well as the State Department's bureau that deals with human rights issues to try to get countries that...
Hold on a second.
Well, if you wait
Do
once...
they have to put a guy with a lisp on the to report this?
Well, listen, he's in the community. It's not, the lisp is not the giveaway, but he's in the community.
Bureau that deals with human rights issues to try to get countries that still outlaw homosexuality to change their laws. What led to this? Well, one major thing was the reported recent hanging of a young gay man in Iran, something that U.S. officials found to be quite disturbing.
There we go.
Good one.
Let's kick it off with Iran.
Well, this follows back on your old thesis from a number of years ago. You want to get something done, start killing gays.
You got to throw some gays off the roof. That's when people pay attention. Yeah.
Well, we've on this show, we have been concluding that Iran is the target of a war.
Yes.
A rebelizing campaign.
Yes. It's really on deck. And, well, this is like 20 seconds left. Let's see if there's anything left in this clip.
Something that U.S. officials found to be quite disturbing, and they wanted to take action against this. Of course, this plays right into the Trump administration's strategy to try to isolate Iran, denigrate Iran, and it helps the Trump administration find a point of agreement with European countries about Iran that has been quite lacking as the administration has been trying but failing to get European countries to leave the Iran nuclear deal and to reimpose sanctions.
Europeans. Yes.
Very perceptive reporting from MSNBC. That was pretty good.
They know what they're doing. I think they're just slopped into it.
Why don't they? I presume that we'll also go after Saudi Arabia.
No.
I'm pretty sure they don't like their community members over there.
Shh.
So, okay. Very cynical, President Trump. Very, very cynical.
It's in Iran where they're killing them left and right, stoning them.
Nowhere else.
That's good. Well, I want to go back to the black side of things because I got a note from the incognito.
He's still around.
He listens to the show, but he doesn't like to admit it. But he just hates the show.
Is he on Reddit? Because he should go hang out there.
Go on Reddit. So. But he did turn me on to something called ADOS, and it's burgeoning. It's not big yet, I'll give you an example about his attitude toward us, though. I'm going to read from his note. Not that I'm expecting anything remarkable from a couple of professed white guys whose politics lean toward the maintenance of privilege. But here's a rejoinder for you if you care to reply to Adam's insight about Harris's great-great-grandmother or great-grandmother, whatever. But he doesn't really give me a rejoinder. He gives me some info on this thing called ADOS, which is Americans the hell's the thing of it? American Descendants of Slavery.
Oh.
And this is a new organization, and you can find ados.com or something like that. It is run by a couple of people that they've got a lot of political chops. They've been in the business a lot, but one of them does a little podcast every once in a while. And I'd love to get an interview with her. Her name is where is her? Yvette Carnell. At the bottom. I have two clips from her to give you a taste of her kind of ranting. Now, this ranting was done before the election. It's one of her. She keeps it at the top of the page. She also does a podcast. Both these guys do podcasts. Most of these people in ADOS, and it's kind of a backdoor into reparations, and I think it's something to follow because the people have a lot of
it's still bubbling under this topic of reparations. It's definitely there.
These two may have a different angle, but Yvette is really an interesting person from her perspective. And I don't even like playing these clips because these are like messages to the black community from a black person. Actually, she's on board with this community thing being bullcrap. And I just want to play these two clips, which I thought were both funny. Let's play the first one.
You know, we have a community in collapse. And why I despise the people that go on MSNBC like Joy Reid and the people that she has on her show is because day in and day out, they lie to black people. They say, no, Donald Trump is wrong. You're doing better than that. Look at me. I'm on TV. Look at me. This woman I'm interviewing, she has a company. And they say, we're doing better than that. And the truth is they're lying. And they lie to us every day. And that's why I'm so sick. I try not to personalize it, but I'm sick of Joy Reid. I'm sick of the people that she invites on her show. I'm sick of her speaking on behalf of black people. I'm sick of Charles Blow speaking on behalf of black people. I don't represent black people, and neither do these people. The data represents you, though. So what I want you to do is just get involved in the data. Everything I've said on here can be proven. Everything I've said on here, there's a data that supports it. Don't just listen to people who are lying to you. And don't just believe because you went to brunch on Sunday that you're a part of the middle class.
Now, why don't you like playing this? I think that's hilarious.
Oh, it is good, but it just seems a little harsh.
Well, we got to this from the community member, the incognito.
She has the... Yeah, well, he didn't tell me to play these clips. He just told me. What else did he said? A couple of nasty things. He's a nasty guy.
Really?
Ever since Trump got elected, he's become a negative force. So here she is again talking about another general kind of complaint of hers, which I thought was highly amusing. Her basic argument is that black people as a whole are poor, and Trump has said this, and he's bitched about the community being poor and they need help. And she says just because Trump said that doesn't mean he's wrong. Like everyone says he's wrong because he's Trump. And she says he's right. And she's trying to to get people to look at the stats because the stats aren't good, and as opposed to the bull crap that were being presented by rich blacks. But let's play the second clip.
So, the one thing that I wish that
no, it's one channel only, but I'll live.
Would just stop happening is I wish that all of these hip-hop people would stop just posing in front of a car every time they got some money. It's funny, we don't see Bill Gates right now. He has more money than all of them put together. We don't see him every time he gets a new car pose in front of a car because it's just stupid. It's just what children do. So what you see with a lot of these black celebrities is that they're children in grown people's bodies. They're still bragging about their cars and the things they have. And the thing is, we know that, the bankruptcy's coming. So I don't even know why anybody cheers that on, because the minute the bankruptcy comes, you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe, why did he take care of his money more? Because you needed him to be wealthy. You needed him to put on this fake and this fraudulent thing, so that's the only reason. If it wasn't for black athletes, if it wasn't for black celebrities, we would know that black people don't have money. If it wasn't for credit, if you had to pay cash to go get a house like you have to do in third world countries, you would know that you're poor. The reason you don't know that you're poor is because you can go and get a loan.
It's interesting. I clipped it and I tossed it because I didn't think it was that good, and I wish I'd kept it. Obama did a speech on behalf of his library or foundation, and he said something very similar. He said, if you're really, what do you say? If you're really secure about yourself, you don't need 8 women twerking around in front of you. Very similar to that. I'll have to bring it in for Sunday.
Yeah, well, I find this
interesting
marks maybe
point.
a new. I mean, I'll keep track of these folks because it seems that they have a message that's a little more
realistic.
Yeah, they have a realistic message, which I think needs to be achieved to get the results they're looking for insofar as people moaning.
The problem is. All she's really doing is saying, do your own research, people won't do that. Very few people who produce the No Agenda show do that, but it's a small community. People just like to be fed stuff. It's way beyond waking people up. We're asleep.
Well, these little lectures that she does are, I think, very snap people, a few people.
Good. I'd like it. Keep your eye on her. I want to hear more. And thank you, Incognito, for introducing us via to this. Now, I've done a lot of, or as much as I could, research on Venezuela. I have some things to share, and I really have to start with Haiti because turns out these two are related. We've had these riots going on in Haiti. What's going on? Why is that happening? In fact, Haiti was my beat right after the Was it 2011? 2011 earthquake? I think it was 2011.
I thought it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2009. Maybe. Anyway.
Okay, I'll look it up.
A while ago. And I remember it being very odd because there was this earthquake that was very shallow in depth and it destroyed Haiti. Did nothing to the Dominican Republic. It's the same landmass, the same island. They had nothing. Now, of course, Haiti, is a shanty town almost. So it's always been problematic. But you got to have a lot of respect for the Haitians.
2010.
A lot of respect for the Haitians, as they're still to date, I think, the only country that really kicked their overlords out, being France, although they were left with some huge debt that will never be able to pay off. And I was listening, a couple of people emailed me about Jeremy Scahill's podcast, the Intercept podcast. And he had a couple of very interesting people on. So I want to share some clips from this. And podcast is really where we get the real info from these days. But first, let's go back. And this is, let me see, did I have, because he has two guests on. And this, Kim Eyes. Kim Eyes is a journo who works for some Haitian newspaper, which also has a Brooklyn office. And he's going to give us a little backstory on what was happening just before, during and after the earthquake in 2010.
The first thing that Preval did when he came into power after his second election was sign the Petrocaribe deal with Vicente Rangel, the Venezuelan vice president. So he signs this agreement, and it took him 2 years basically to get the oil really flowing and get the Petrocaribe fund, this capital fund. So the U.S. now was pissed about this. And here comes the earthquake, and they say, here's the golden opportunity. So they basically took over Preval's government. The Pentagon, who landed 20,000 U.S. troops with no invitation from Haiti.
We forget so quickly, don't we? What a big deal this was. It was covered everywhere. We had everyone on TV shilling for the Haiti Foundation, send us money, the Clintons, of course. This was a big deal.
Permission even from Haiti. Send in Hillary Clinton to start to stage manage everything. And then Bill Clinton's running the Haiti Interim Recovery Commission.
And together, the Clintons played prominent roles after the earthquake, as for-profit companies and aid organizations rushed in to be part of a $10 billion reconstruction program.
They passed a law, a state of emergency, and basically took over the government and started to bring in, of course, all the usual contractors, Brown and Root and Halliburton, et cetera, rebuilding.
So we all kind of remember that and wound up, I think the total tally was 6 houses that were built. They have a mobile phone network, which is now the banking system. All mobile, everything is paid through micropayments on mobile. Another one of the Clintons' buddies came in to do that. I think there's a Clinton hotel, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was something.
But I believe that's on the other shore, so they.
Well, but it's where they have the deep water, so that they can roll around, whatever. And of course, if you look at the map, Haiti is just north of Venezuela, and that's why they had this pipeline. And then all of a sudden, the earthquake came along, blew up that pipeline. That's all gone. And why? Well, looks like this deal they cut with the Caribe, which was a loan. That was part of the problem.
What is happening on the ground right now in Haiti?
Well, it's an uprising similar to that 33 years ago in Haiti under the regime of Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier.
Thousands of Haitians made a pilgrimage today to Gonaïves, a city north of Port-au-Prince, where 3 students were shot to death last November. They were remembered as martyrs at a mass celebrating the fall of Duvalier, which was also...
He ended up having to be flown out of Haiti on a U.S. Air Force plane to a golden exile in France. But the rebellion continued for the next 5 years and resulted in the election of Jean-Bertrand Aristide in 1990. So I feel we're in a similar period. Basically, the people are fed up with this neo-devaluerist government, which has been in power basically since 2011, thanks to Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, who facilitated the rise of Michel Martelly, who was able to capture the presidency and then plunder the Petrocaribe fund that Venezuela had provided Haiti, about $4 billion worth of oil revenues, thereby have his successor elected, who is Jovenel Moise, the guy currently in power. So the people are fed up with the corruption and with the misery that they're in because the money that was supposed to go for development programs that Hugo Chavez envisioned happening instead went into chalets and fast cars.
No, so I think the people are pissed about that.
You think?
So, I guess this is the little quick clip of why, what is being blamed on this rioting.
In February, the International Monetary Fund agreed to give Haiti $96 million in much-needed funds, but only if the government agreed to several measures, one of which was raising the price of government-subsidized fuel.
Yeah, by 50%. So people are flipping out, and we have a big hand in this, and this is where it starts to fold into Venezuela, with something called the OAS, the Organization of American States.
Right. It's the major, it's kind of like a UN of the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, well, this is where it gets interesting.
The U.S. basically sees Haiti as a pawn in their war against Venezuela. They can't do it through the UN Security Council, their usual fig leaf, because of the problems now with Russia and China, who are going to put the kibosh on that with their veto in the Security Council. So they have to go to the junior varsity, which is, of course, the OAS, the Organization of American States, what Cuba rightly calls Washington's Ministry of Colonial Affairs. So they're trying to push through this democratic charter, which was passed on September 11th, 2001, which basically says if 2/3 of the 35 members of the OAS can vote together, they can intervene in another country. Right now, they have 19 votes. Haiti voted against sanctioning Venezuela in the March 2017 OAS vote. Then there was another vote last year, and they abstained. But this year, on January 10th, finally, the browbeating and the bullying and the bribery maybe came to fruition, and they voted with Washington that Nicolas Maduro was illegitimate after receiving these $4 billion in Petrocaribe funds. So that was really the spark that set off the rebellion we're seeing today. The people said, come on, that's just too much.
So we couldn't do it through the United Nations, and I'm saying we as in the United States. So, let's maybe work this OAS. There's also a new group called the Lima Group, which is all these Caribbean islands, and they also have, they have pledged to not let Venezuela go down in flames. And a new member to that group is Guyana. And this is what Rex Tillerson was all about. There is a new oil field that has been discovered off the coast of Guyana. It's right next to Venezuela. And even though it's in Guyana's territorial waters, Venezuela claims this, and I think this thing was discovered in very early on, 2008 or something, and no one really had anything going on because it was disputed as to who owned it, and Exxon, under Rex Tillerson, made a deal to start drilling there, and this thing is supposed to be bigger than the field that Venezuela has existing, and of much lighter and therefore I think more valuable.
Yeah, lighter crude is
much lighter. So everyone is vying for this, and this is what it's about. That's why everyone is in there. Interestingly, Exxon they're the majority shareholder, 60%, but they also have the CNOOC in there, the Chinese oil company. They own 25%. A little bit of Venezuela, a little bit of Guyana, and I think maybe some French or something are in there. This is what it's about. That's what Tillerson was after. And I don't know if the agendas crossed between Trump and Tillerson, but for sure, now that I look at it in context of the wall, I think Trump has if it's him or if it's neocons or whoever the hell it is, I think it's him. He has a very, very cynical plan underway. Listen to what he said. This was in Miami.
Hello, Miami. I am thrilled to be back in the state I love with so many proud, freedom-loving patriots. We're here to proclaim a new day is coming in Latin America. It's coming.
A new day is coming. He's not just saying in Venezuela. He's saying in Latin America, a new day is coming. I think the plan is to, well, whether it's rubbleize and rebuild, but we're going to capture this. This is the plan, and you need a wall because everyone's going to be coming up north. It's yeah. Well,
yeah, no, I like it too because yes, you need the wall because we don't technically need the wall, but we do need the wall for this reason. It's the future.
Yes, and it's going to be a quick strategy.
What Trump did.
This is George Chiccarillo, he's with a think tank,
was explicitly to pressure not just the inner circle of Maduro, but also military leaders more broadly. He sort of gave them an ultimatum. He said, would you like to live out the rest of your lives comfortably with your families, or do you want to go down with this sinking ship? So it was explicitly a threat. It's the same increasingly desperate attempt to split the Venezuelan military. Trump and the Venezuelan opposition thought that this would happen immediately. It, of course, didn't. And so now what they're really trying to do is to turn the screws and to up the narrative and the rhetorical sort of fire toward Venezuela to make it a broad historical shift. This is explicit interventionism, and it's an attempt at regime change, an attempt to at a coup, and an attempt to use this sort of fake humanitarian aid as a Trojan horse to bring down a government,
which is what appears to be happening. All these military transports coming in to Colombia at the border saying, oh, we want to get in and we got food for everybody. It's kind of like the Haiti strategy. It's like, oh, look, we got all these troops and military transport. We're here to help. We're from the government. Don't worry. Long-term strategy. Again, this guy from the think tank.
Andrew McCabe, who's on his media tour right now for his book, and the big headlines that he made was talking about plans to allegedly invoke the 25th Amendment to try to have Donald Trump removed as president based on
it sounds weird, but it's related.
His mental health or lack thereof. But he also talks about Venezuela in his book. And I just want to read, George, a quote from Andrew McCabe's book about a 2017 Oval Office meeting. He says, quote, "Then the president talked about Venezuela. That's the country we should be going to war with," he said. "They have all that oil and they're right on our back door."
You think that's true? You think he said that?
Oh, he says so much stuff. It wouldn't be out of the question that he said it. McCabe is, I think he's something of a liar. So I don't know if he actually did say that.
Well, it certainly fits in with the scheme. Fits the model.
We'll use that model.
Is that really what you see as the U.S. agenda here, George?
They've been very clear about that, but I think the quote that you read is also very revealing. He says, all that oil and they're right there in our backyard, essentially, right? We're talking the Monroe Doctrine. So this is...
Hold on. The Monroe Doctrine?
Yes. James Monroe, when he was president, he developed he's like the 7th president. He's very early on. You can look it up. Who's also, I saw a picture of him, just to go as an aside here, in the National Gallery. There's a painting by Gilbert Stuart, that superstar portrait artist, and you can look at him. You can stand right by this painting and look at him, and you see this is the biggest prick who's ever been president of the United States. You can just look at this picture and go, "Wow,
just a total douche."
But he decided that anything that was in the Western Hemisphere, period, belongs to us. We have. He has some. It was the Monroe Doctrine, but it has to do with not sovereignty, but influence. We have to be the primary influence for the whole hemisphere.
Yeah, foam finger number one.
Yeah, we're number one.
They're right there in our backyard, essentially, right? We're talking the Monroe Doctrine. So this is about economics. In other words, it is about economic control, but it's also about political control. And I think we should remember that, because part of what the Chavista legacy is not just the demand for national sovereignty, but the construction of regional alliances. In other words, we've been talking about Petrocaribe, but also other international regional alliances, partnerships that have provided a cushion for Latin American countries to act independently. In other words, not having to appeal to the World Bank and the IMF for funding if they have a momentary glitch in their economy, being able to borrow money from Venezuela, from Argentina. What's happened over the past few years is that this regional alliance has been disintegrated bit by bit. We're talking about coups in Honduras, quasi-coups in Brazil, in Paraguay, elections in Argentina, in Chile, in Colombia, that have really helped to pull apart this regional alliance. The Lima Group is the product of this. In other words, the new right wing in Latin America that has made it harder. And so in the absence of the U.S.'s ability to overthrow Chavez, as they failed to do in 2002, they set about, working around the edges and tearing apart this regional unity. And they've been very successful at that, which now makes Venezuela that much more susceptible to their direct pressure. And of course, the goal of that regional control is economic control, is the ability to intervene and have, these resources, these markets at their command.
Yeah, it is. I think Trump has his eye on it. He wants to go get that, and he's probably
for a real estate guy. He really is oil centric. I mean, he said the same thing about when he was
Iraq.
running.
Yeah, Iraq.
All his speeches was always about we should have taken the oil from Iraq. And, for all the work we did there, and he really thinks that all the oil belongs to us. Then he assigns Exxon CEO Tillerson, the chief of an giant oil company.
The oil company who in 2015 was drilling right there.
Yeah, and so he assigns him as Secretary of the State but Tillerson
screwed it up somehow.
I'm going to make it just a side commentary. I don't think Trump realized with Tillerson. I think Trump is like a populist in the way that he thinks he has popular thoughts that run through his brain. For example, when I was working at Union Oil and I went to work for the Air Pollution District, it wasn't that I was working for the oil company anymore. I was now working for the regulatory agency, and I had no trouble because I had inside information on how oil I didn't have a lot. How oil companies work. So I had no problem going from a private sector job and then doing my job specifically against the companies I worked for, because it was an adversary type thing. It's not a problem. So when I see people switch over from one side to the other, I know that you can do it. So when Tillerson switched from Exxon to Secretary of State, I think Trump thought the popular thought is he's still an oil guy, but he just happens to be Secretary of State. No, once he became Secretary of State, he was Secretary of State, and that kind of screwed up Trump's steam.
Right,
it screwed his idea because he doesn't understand this mechanism, which is a fact. So
and I think if anything, if I can say anything good about this, I would hope that the reason is he wants to make sure this all up, give people some democracy before China does something. Russia, you don't have to be worried about Russia. They don't have enough money to do this. They don't have the resources. China's there. China owns 25% of this new. The new license that Exxon has, or they're 25% in the company, they're not going to be very happy because I'm sure they're thinking, we'll just take all this.
Well, if China, if they keep cutting China in and leaving it so China doesn't really get too much, that's the problem with China. So I think you exemplified that with this Huawei guy. Now all of a sudden he thinks he's king of the world, douchebag. And I think that it's okay, but China keeps doing all this. They're not pure capitalists. They do all kinds of sneaky things, and so you have to be careful. I think Trump's aware of that. I love the wall theory.
Yeah,
I'm subscribing to it. That's the reason for the wall.
It makes sense when you put this all together. Yeah. So something he knew was going to happen a long time ago, probably when he's laying the best laid plans. And
if he's that forward a thinker, then we have to start looking at his. We have to look at everything he does and says differently.
Well, in this framework, I think this is important. This and Iran. Those are the two things. And there's all kinds of. You know what? I have some Iran stuff, but maybe we should take a quick break and then we can go into that. So at this point, I would be very pleased to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., the man who put the C in AOC, Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room. Hello, trolls. Good to have y'all here. NoAgendaStream.com. The trolls are a very important part of the show. They feed me all kinds of information. Normally you feed the trolls feed me. NoAgendaStream.com. We love having everybody there. Also, in the morning to Cesium 137, he brought us the artwork for episode 1113. The title of that show was Axe. And this was the 5G cash cow. It was I don't even think I noticed it the first time we saw the art. It had the 5 and the G as $5 sign and the G as a cent sign with the two stripes through it. But it's on a cow's hide. And I don't think we even saw that when we chose the art. Did you notice that?
I just saw the 5 and the G.
Yeah. But now it's like 5G cash cow. Fantastic. We liked it a lot. There were other good ones, of course, and those usually show up in newsletters and sometimes the evergreens. We pick them all the time.
I have a really good one in the last newsletter from Darren O'Neill.
Yeah, the patch.
That I never noticed before.
The patch. That was nice.
Eagle Scout patch.
So we thank...
Monroe was the 5th president.
All right. We thank Cesium 137 and all of the artists who participate in our Value for Value network by helping us out with show art. It's a big deal. We were hottest on iTunes the other day. Like not just news shows, but the hottest in the top. Yeah. Like right now, hot now. And it looks so good when our artwork shows up.
Different. What changed?
I think artwork, man.
It's got to be.
It's got to be the artwork. So
because they have that page, they got to make it look jazzy.
Yes.
Our art changes every show, and so it always looks different. It doesn't look like the same boring crap. It's not the kind of thing. You don't hit that page and say, "Oh, I've seen these before," and then you go on.
Right.
Which is pretty much the rest of the art.
Yes. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you very much. It's highly appreciated, everyone who participates in that. And everyone does a great job helping out the show. And we have people who support us financially, which enables us to watch and listen to stuff endlessly during the day. Sometimes C-SPAN, but a lot more podcasts these days. And I have a doozy coming up later. But first, let's thank some of our executive producers and associate executive producers who also make this all possible.
So we have a top-heavy show today with more executive producers than donations.
Really?
The regular donation segment's short.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's fine with me. Sir John Henry, Sir John of the Zika in Puerto Rico, Fajardo, Puerto Rica.
Yeah.
Puerto Rica. He writes in, "Oh, no, say it isn't so. Spotify, this is my horrified face." And he has a picture of the Scream. The famous oil painting. Okay, I had been meaning to advertise wink wink again, but I kept putting it off. This news certainly got me off my duff. Here's my donation for 334.34. Why the extra $1? Well, MMMK, more money, more karma. It can't hurt. And as John likes to say, why take a chance?
Why
Anything
take
to keep you off of Spotify? And this screaming economy, manufacturers are all over having trouble keeping up with the demand. By the way, you and the Spotify threat, this is the only John's the only one who
responded to it,
who seemed to respond to it.
Yes,
a nice note and he's actually put the image of this on the letter. The image of the Scream painting. It's very funny. In the screaming economy, back to the theme, manufacturers all over are having trouble keeping up with demand. Please give all the No Agenda manufacturers some production karma. And tell them that if the karma isn't quite enough, I can help them free up lost production capacity. They should visit my website at www.changeover.com. Changeover.com. Check that out to find out how. I guess he runs a manufacturing jobbing operation. So he does stuff for other people. He's like a CMOS line. You can make chips for anyone. Please don't go to Spotify. Love and light. karma for the manufacturers out there.
Yeah, I'm going to give it, since there were two things I noticed in the note, I'm going to give these as well as an extra bonus for him.
May I have your attention, please?
Oh, Zika.
Oh, Zika.
Zika.
Little baby with a little bitty head.
With a baby with a small head.
They're going to have to make a little head. You watch.
Did he want a jobs karma or just a regular karma?
Where's the 1.9 billion?
John? John, did he want a jobs karma or regular karma?
He wanted a karma. No jobs. This is a manufacturer's karma.
Okay. I'll give him a scream then.
You've got karma.
Manufacturer's karma to me. A goat scream.
No, that was the scream.
That was the scream.
Yeah, the goat is different. This is the goat. See, that's the goat, and then we have the scream. Very different.
That one.
Very different.
That's our scream.
That's our scream, yeah.
We isolated that from a clip years and years ago, and I think it's more horrendous a scream
than the goat, for sure.
Well, than the goat, or that Wilhelm scream, the one that people like to slip into movies.
Yeah.
Famous scream that movie makers like to throw in. I think they use this scream. It's much better.
Agreed.
One more time.
Oh. Sure.
That's a real person screaming.
Sweet. Yeah.
Todd Rathkamp in Ripon, Wisconsin, 333.33. John and Adam, immediately following my last donation, I realized I was $13.78 short of my knighthood. I've been frozen these last 11 months trying to find a catchy title. Alas, I have nothing but the empty feeling in my gut knowing I have been a douche for the better part of a year. Please accept my apologies and refer to me as simply as Sir Todd.
Okay.
For snacks, please include brandy old fashions, which I guess is different than regular old fashioned, and cheese curds.
Brandy old fashions and cheese curds at the round table for you, Sir Todd. Looking forward to it.
Ray Martin, meanwhile, Sir Leighton of the Circle Town in Dothan, Alabama, 333.30. Not at 333.33 because this was our 33 celebration. And I had suggested a 33.33 contribution, which we did get quite a few of. But I like the fact without encouragement, we got these.
That's nice.
This was not a thing you clicked on.
Oh, this is hand jobs.
Hand jobs. I look forward to the show and the newsletter that always seems to get through Gmail. I'm amazed. I don't want to talk about that later about the newsletter. It turns out it's a very funny story. I'm amazed at the production quality of the show and content. Knowing that hardly any post-production is done, which is just as an aside, the only post-production is done is occasionally when the thing fouls up or Adam's thing stops and we have to stop.
An edit, yeah.
And he will go back, and then we finish the show, and then he'll go back and just clip that out. We don't do any post-production beyond clipping out dead zones.
And one opening.
And we drop the opening in,
yeah. So we actually spend the most time after the show trying to find something appropriate to open the show with.
Yeah, and that amount of time is about 2 to 3 minutes. Well, maybe it could be up
depends.
to 10.
Could be long,
but
yeah.
Generally speaking, is pretty quick.
So, yeah.
We don't do post. That's the way we recommend people do podcasting. Does anybody else say this? Anything like this? No. Nobody says this. Nobody says this simple. Horowitz is the only one I know besides us that does this.
Yeah. Well, I also beat it into him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Adam is responsible for that, and Horowitz is the better off for it because
Great.
We don't do that little thing at the beginning, and he runs it right from the opening to the end. When that show is over, he posts it within 5 minutes.
Right.
And goes to bed.
Yeah. Now, I still like to put all the tags in and put the art, of course, the art into the MP3 and all that stuff. But
yeah. But the point is that we don't post.
Post is for pussies.
Anyway, how any post-production is as evidenced by how speedy it is ready for an enjoyment after the live stream. About 30 minutes max. Demonstrates y'all's professionalism. Please accept this donation as a token of thanks, and please provide a health karma for all the douchebags out there that they may be moved to feel even better by donating whatever they can and by sending a note of appreciation as well. Please keep up the great work. Sir Leighton of Circletown, Ray Martin.
Sir Leiron, I think, not Leighton.
Leiron. Sorry, Leiron.
Circletown. Thank you very much, Sir Leiron. Of course, we'll be happy to send out that karma.
You've got Karma.
Health karma, no less. Nice.
Adding to the 333.33 list is Randall Scheibel in Somerville, Massachusetts, 333.33. Jingles, mac and cheese, I love bugs, my millennials stay woke. Hey, John and Adam, ITM to you both. I have a quick suggestion for listeners that want to get the newsletter but seem unable to. As a Gmail user, I haven't missed the newsletter since I signed up months ago, and I believe it's because I auto-filter everything coming from the No Agenda MailChimp address to a No Agenda folder. It never hits the inbox or promotional folders and allows me to quickly find the emails I'm truly interested in reading. As a millennial and avid listener to the podcast, your media deconstruction and technology expertise convinced me to embark on the OTG life.
Woo!
Verizon, unfortunately, has limited options, but the Kyocera Cadence has been a fabulous addition to my life.
Nice.
I think I see those things on
That's the flip phone.
Craigslist.
That's the flip phone, I think. The Kyocera. It's the flip phone. Yeah.
It's been a fabulous addition to my life and has saved me hundreds of dollars by not purchasing the latest iPhone. I couldn't be any happier with my decision. I'm no longer tempted to scroll through my various apps to kill time and have become way more observant of my
Yes. There you go.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
It's
fun. It's fun to look at the slaves with their bent necks and their shoulders hunched, looking at their phones while they're walking, holding a dog.
I currently live in Boston. Would love to meet other No Agenda Bostonians. I would, we want to do a meetup in Boston.
Got to do one. Yeah.
Me in particular has a couple of friends there, so we will be doing one. But if you want to do something in advance, it's fine.
It sounds like a good gambit.
I want to find a meetup. But I'm unsure how many fellow listeners we have out there in liberal land. NoAgendaMeetups.com.
We've got nights. We got nights in Boston. We got all kinds of people in Boston.
If you live in Boston, we have a lot of Bostonians. If you live in Boston, the surrounding area, you're interested in a meetup, you can email me at bostonnoagenda@gmail.com. bostonnoagenda@gmail.com. That's easy. And with enough interest, I will work on finding a venue for us to meet up. Keep up the good work and hope you guys work well past 2020 because you guys are truly, truly, truly the greatest podcast in the universe.
Thank you very
Randy
much.
from Somerville, Massachusetts.
Yes, thank you very much, Randy. And good on you for going OTG. It really is worth it.
Living the mac and cheese life.
Mac and cheese.
We eat bugs. You eat bugs. Nothing like freshly caught bugs. You want to try? Ooh, thanks. I love bugs.
My millennials, stay woke.
That wasn't what I wanted.
You've got karma.
Following in the footsteps of the rest, Matthew Wilbur in Rutherglen, Virginia, 333.33. Not a douchebag, but might as well be for the pittance I've donated over the years. Kindly requesting Jobs Karma for an interview I have coming up. How about some Pelosi asking us to vote for the dead guy, Steve Jobs? What?
Jobs, I think is it.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yeah.
Very funny, Matthew.
I thought it was pretty good.
Got me off guard, too. No, Wattenmacher, $218 to be associate executive. Oh, no, actually, these are guys will be bumped up because of the deal. And by the way, on that, this bump up thing, which we put in.
Wait, what's this? Tell me about the bump up. What's the bump up?
Don't you remember the last show? We bumped everyone 218 up to executive producer.
Oh, right.
Well, then I carried it over till midnight the 19th.
Got it. Okay.
Now, I probably may have gotten some people in there from the 20th because when I went to do the Wednesday newsletter, I went on a PayPal and I killed that link. That link is dead now. It's dead to me. So you can't do that anymore because it was a one-time offer.
Just dead.
It's dead to me.
Dead to you.
But no, it's not dead to him. 218 will be my 33rd birthday. So I figured I had to donate. I'm also sending Adam a remix of my hit end of show tune, Men in Minis. We actually ran that on the last show.
We did. Yep.
Backed by popular demand from me. I thought it was one of the better mixes.
It's a great mix.
Happy President's Day, everybody. Thank you for your stupendous deconstruction. No jingles, no karma.
Thank you very much. No, I really appreciate that.
Another 218 comes from Ronald Gonzalez in Houston, Texas, 218. Several months ago, I was hit in the mouth not by a friend, but by a column in some random tech magazine announcing the unceremonious firing of one John C. Dvorak from PC Magazine. I never heard of Dvorak. No, it was great. Never heard of this jerk. I'd only written for 30 years. Nor have I ever read PC Magazine. Well, there you have it. But the allusion to his being fired due to his criticisms of 5G networks piqued my curiosity.
Oh.
The column mentioned that Mr. Dvorak was the co-host of a podcast, No Agenda, needing something new to fill my relentlessly dreary commute to and from the commuter show.
You need a couple of podcasts for Houston traffic.
Oh, yeah. And I thought I'd give No Agenda a listen. Fast forward to today, and I'm now a loyal listener who never misses a show and is in dire need of a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
John and Adam, you do brilliant work. The fact that you can do twice weekly a show in real time, produce such densely packed and high-quality content for almost 3 hours a session is a small miracle. Keep doing it. That's what we think, too. Keep doing what you're doing. Your work is not only highly appreciated, but absolutely vital.
We just make it look easy.
Despite the ugliness of the news cycle, I've learned with all you all's help, that the M5M is no way a reflection of the real world and is, in fact, a revolting caricature of the real world as seen through the eyes of a pack of raving hyenas and gangsters. Being hit in the mouth is a cure for the malaise. As you sit there watching the blood drip from your lip, you slowly realize feeling in your once numb body a little sobering clarity as you reflect on your own small, pathetic place in the vast machine. Jeez. You read Kierkegaard much? I mean, what's going on here?
Damn.
I have been sitting here buttered and bruised, blood pouring from my face for the last several months, and I owe it all to you, John and Adam. Keep swinging. Maybe we should introduce him to the Jessup guy, whatever his name is. Shout out to my smoking hot wife, Sarah, and to Jeremy in Friendship, who was also recently assaulted by y'all's show.
Friendswood. He's in Friendswood.
He is.
In Friendswood.
Roland.
Jeremy. All right. Thanks, Roland.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a cute note. Sander Limberg, another 218er. We've got a bunch of them today. Another big list. Paterswold, Netherlands.
Paterswolde.
Paterswolde.
Yeah,
I got to get that last thing on there. It's like south of France. Forgive me, Podfellas, for I've seen I'm in need of a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
I've been hit in the mouth to listen to the best podcast in the universe a couple of years ago by Bidge Taco, who together with Bartho need a douchebag call-out for never donating. Douchebag. Two of them. Douchebag. Since I work in the University of Groningen, which is totally Dimension B, I am glad to get some ammunition twice a week to keep me from being sucked into their realm. I keep hitting people in the mouth all the time, but there's plenty hard in this environment. Yeah, it's pretty common. Anyway, keep it up. It's fun. Anyway, lots of times I laugh out loud listening to the No Agenda show, riding my bike to work, which results in crazy looks from people nearby, especially L. Sharpton cracks me up every time I'm together with the iPad woman. Forgot her name.
Jill Abramson from the New York Times.
So hilarious. Shout out to my smoking hot wife, actually. Micah. And keep up the awesome work. Job Karma and the iPad lady, if any available.
Yeah, and I'll give him a little bonus, Sharpton.
We much. We jitty. We down. We down. All down. We much. We jitty.
Obviously, I read the New York Times like all day long, mainly on my iPad app.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Got a new twist to the Jill Abrams story later.
Oh, why don't you tell me now? Is it long?
It's
okay. Later.
We probably need some discussion. I don't want to drop it in the middle of this. Sir Anthony Trusnick in Baron of the Philippine, 218, another one upgraded. Burn of the Philippines. Here's Sir Anthony Trusnick, CEO of Studio Quinto, wanting to wish everyone a happy day, any day who cares. No shame calling out for some OTG. Check out Sovereign Tech, and do not forget, if you are looking at offshoring or outsourcing video production, or are thinking of doing some line production in the Philippines, email us at Studio Quinto, STUDIOCUENTO, STUDIO, Quinto, at gmail.com. Adam and John are the best podcasts in the universe, hands down, no questions asked. This is getting long. I will take jobs karma. I try to get into the engineering department at T-Mobile.
Oh, well, why don't I just give my buddy John Ledger a call? I can tweet him.
Well, do that.
We follow each other.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Karma.
There's some work done in the Philippines. I'm sure they got competent gear there.
Definitely.
Sir Walkman in Louisville, Ohio. Could be Louisville. 218. ITM, Podfather, and Cranky Buzzkill. Please cue up jingle OMG, see the Jew, stop the hammering, goat karma. John, I love your squeaky chair. Never grease it. I love my pie hole, Adam. I love my pie hole, Adam.
I love your pie hole, too.
Me sane from M5M, especially as on my long drives to Michigan. It's a commuter show. I take my executive producership for President Day birthday sale to all you freeloading slaves. Donate. Sir Walkman finally got it right this time.
All right, Sir Walkman. We got that for you.
Oh, my gosh. Can you see that juice? Stop the hammering.
You've got karma.
Baron Craig Kuttner in Atlanta, Georgia, our buddy, $218. Assuming my protectorate of Northeast Georgia after a relocation, still impressed by and appreciative of the media deconstruction depth that you two do twice a week. Keeping this short as I bask in the glow of my first executive producership after being robbed by a few shekels previous times. Keep it up. Blah, blah, blah. Jingles, double speak of the week, Foamer, Raven, and a retirement karma. 73s from KB1 YYE.
73s, Kilo 5, Alpha Charlie Charlie.
It's the double speak of the week. The double speak of the week.
Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
Straight from Reseda, here she is, Raven. Give it up.
You've got karma.
Sir Rob in Leiden, Netherlands, 218. ITM, John and Adam. Please sign me up as executive producer for show 1114. I think we're on 11. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Title change the Baronet. I prefer to keep my moniker Sir Rob, Knight of the Philanthropic Shareholders Federation. Note will come.
Did you see a note?
No.
I didn't see a note either. Great. You'll be... you will be Baronet. We'll give you a title change. Thank you very much, Sir Rob.
Dwight the Knight in Burlington, Ontario, $200.02. To start, I would like to, he's got a birthday coming up for someone. I'd like to request a journey into the alternate universe, please. Next birthday shout out to Sir Hank Scorpio. Last, I would like some powerful jobs karma for our mother. Keep up the great work.
So as I was prepping the show, I took the alternative universe machine out. The question is, if we play it once, we don't really transition back.
Right. I think we should just we should put that in abeyance. And if we do we have any alternative universe clips that we can get to later?
No. Well, everything. Everything,
yeah,
really.
Well, we could go to...
let's just... come on. Who gives it? Let's go for it. Who cares? Jump on in, everybody, in the alternative universe transition machine. We're going over to Dimension A.
America first. America first. America first.
Here we go. Sparky.
Fuck you.
All right. And that will be the last time. I'm going to just mention this to the producers that we do that.
I agree.
In the producer segment. I mean, we'd do it when we do it, but we're not.
Unless
it's not a jingle.
Yeah, okay, got it. It's a machine.
Yeah, it's a machine.
It's highly tuned.
To start that thing up, and by the way, it cost a lot of money to turn that thing on and off.
Highly tuned piece of gear.
Jackson Howard in Pacifica, California, where the land of the crumbling streets, was falling into the ocean very slowly. In the morning, gentlemen. This is my first of many donations to the best podcast in the universe. This is Gen Z, raised in the Bay Area. He's a Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Z, the zeros, whatever they call them. Raised in the Bay Area, I have been subject to the current political fad of SJW liberalism. In middle school, my biology teacher always used to say that by 2015, fresh water would be more valuable than gold.
Well.
Hey, not yet.
Don't worry. One
we're
day.
in 2019, though. I think that gambit's over. The podcast has helped guide me through the endless fear-mongering of the M5M. In an episode somewhere there in the 900s, you guys dissected a story about Afec oil. Afec oil? I don't know what that is referring to. And their exclusive drilling rights in the Golan Heights. Oh, the oil company in the Golan Heights.
Oh, yeah. No, I told about the company that was I talked about the company that had the license for that for some reason.
Yeah, Genie Energy, their parent company, is publicly traded with people like Jacob Rothschild and Dick Cheney on the advisory board. It seemed like an interesting investment opportunity. So I bought some shares at $4.23, and I sold some of my position last month at $9.50.
Oh, nice.
I figured you guys deserve some of the profits.
Now, this is day trading.
Into the Marine Corps' Officers Candidate School, also known as OCS. The training is grueling 10 weeks in the summer heat of Quantico, Virginia. As a future spook in training, I would like to request some OCS karma. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, and you have to forget everything that you've said here. And when you go into training, they're going to know. They're going to know that you listen to us. Have you ever had thoughts of?
But they should start playing it at the base. The show.
Oh, yes. While you're in training.
Marines, time to wake up.
Time for your no agenda, everybody. All right. Yes, some OCS karma for you, of course. Here you go.
You've got karma.
All right, that concludes our group of well-wishers, executive producers, a lot of executive producers, and a couple of associates for show 11114.
1114. Thank you so much, execs and associate execs. And the execs have been bumped up. It's fantastic. These credits are not only valuable, they're real. You can use them anywhere credits are recognized. And I see a lot of people use their credit or their night name in their Twitter handle. So I see a lot of that now. And, just people, I just look at someone random on Twitter and like, oh, so he's a knight. It's very handy for finding each other.
There's a lot of people that just go by their night name, Sir So-and-so, and that's their name on Twitter.
And you know why? Because it's legit. That's why. Because you can.
Legit as anything.
It's legit as any other knighthood. Thank you again. We'll be thanking more people, $50 and above in our second segment. And you can always support our next show. It'll be Sunday, coming to you from chilly Des Moines, Iowa. So remember us for that at
Dvorak.org/NA.
So much deconstruction for you to take home, take out on the road, and propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Don't eat me, AOC!
Shut up, slave.
All right, you were going to say something. We were talking about it during the donation segment.
Jill Abramson.
Jill Abramson, yes. There you go.
Yeah, I don't have the clip of her, but she apparently appeared on one of the CNN shows. And it was discussed on Canada Land, another podcast, which is it's a good podcast. They seem to be bashers of Trudeau. They're Trudeau bashers, which is not unusual in Canada. Yeah, but they did bring this thing up because somebody heard this discussed on I think seltzer water.
Seltzer water, yeah.
And it's interesting because it doesn't call for a little discussion, and everything that is said here does not surprise me in the least.
She was on CNN has a media reporter, Brian Stelter, and she was kind of defending herself. She says, no, it's mistakes were made, but it's not technically plagiarism. I'm going to fix it in the ebook in the next version, blah, 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 blah. But then she said something that really caught my attention. She said, Vice, who now are pointing out all of these errors I made about their staff and about their history and all these little, the color of the shoes of their host. They had my manuscript for a long, long time because I wanted them to have a chance to let me know if I got anything wrong. And they were very difficult to reach. They didn't return my emails. And I later learned, said Jill Abramson on CNN, that they were running an Oppo campaign and they were calling other people in the book, essentially trying to strategize a way to discredit the book. And this is kind of a maneuver that I've always thought was possible, but I'm unaware of it playing out, if in fact this is true.
I didn't even think that you could do that.
Well, here's how you do it. Like, you ask somebody, like, I'm writing about you. Did I get anything wrong? Here's what I wrote. And they see that you got something wrong, and they say, you know what? Jill Abrams, like, why should we help her make a factual book? It's still going to make us look like shit if we correct all of her errors. Why don't we let her publish a flawed book? And then we can rip her book to shreds on the basis of how flawed it is.
Wow.
If that is, in fact,
that's long game.
What happened. And what makes this really interesting to me is that I am aware that when it comes to their PR flacks, Vice doesn't hire smiley spokespeople. They hire political war room strategists, like real sharks who are very well versed in dirty tricks. And I kind of feel like this is a thread of the story that got dropped too soon.
Huh. Okay.
Not a bit of that surprises me. And it's a very good strategy.
But
Vice we don't have much respect for them as entities. We think a lot of their stuff is, at least I do.
Well, they're an advertising agency is what they are. They're an ad agency for millennials.
Advertising agency. But yeah, and then they apparently, I guess Abramson or Abrams, I can never remember, but I guess Jill sent them the galley proofs instead of just the sheets from that applied to them. And once they got, that means they read the whole book and they could find other people that were getting slammed. And then they could put up an oppo, as the guy says, opposition campaign against the book in advance of its publication. And then also not help change any errors. And then you could bitch about the errors. Very, very, very coy.
Well, they better not do that to my book. Or yours, for that matter. I'll punch them away.
We'll send them the things. Yeah. Screw them.
Well, since we're talking about media then, it was almost impossible to pull a clip. Laura Logan, who we remember from her sexual attack. She was sexually attacked in Tahrir Square during the Egyptian Arab Spring uprising. And she was on it.
And then after that, I'll do one more briefing. She phonied up, not completely, but she phonied up an interview that got her put on hiatus for about a year on 60 Minutes. Then they brought her back.
Yeah, it was about Benghazi.
Yeah, something. And then they brought her back.
But I beg to differ. I went back and looked at. She didn't phony up an interview. She said something she shouldn't have said.
Okay, well that makes more sense.
Yes, and in fact,
she was accused of phoning up an interview.
Well, I recall certainly myself being very skeptical and like, who is this woman who says she was, because she's beautiful. It's like, what was she doing there? Was she really assaulted? I think I was very flippant about it.
You were. I was skeptical too. And the funny thing is, now that she's not working there, she's got black hair. Who knew?
Which looks a hell of a lot better. She looks great as a brunette. Much better. Anyway, the reason why I bring her up is she did a 3.5-hour podcast with Mike Ritland, who's I think is ex-Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL, I would refer to him as the cusser.
Did you see the whole interview?
I'm not going to watch 3.5 hours. I was trying to look for, somebody sent me that, it's probably the same guy who sent you the clip. He says, listen to this. And he says Logan goes on about certain things. Everybody picked up on this. And he wouldn't give me a time code. I wasn't going to, no, I did not listen to the whole interview. I'm sure it was fascinating to a point, but I didn't have 3.5 hours available to me to listen to this guy and her.
Well, I did over the course of 2 days. That's why people support the show, so I can do these kinds of things. I only really have the one clip that everyone's talking about because you can't clip anything. Because the segments are long, it's very relaxed, it's very in-depth. I have to say, incredible respect for her, for everything she said, everything that she's done, and I'm sure it's true. Just the way, you can tell when you're listening to someone really tell stories about their life, and, she pretty much lived in the Middle East for the past, or 10 years before the attack. It's really worth watching. She's really endearing, and it took me a while to figure it out. Because she's been in war zones all the time. She's been in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pashtun. Anywhere there's a war, she was there, and she's been blown up. She's been beaten up. She's raped, and she goes into quite graphic detail about the physical harm that was done to her. I recommend everybody watch this because, of course, she's not going to be welcome in the mainstream anymore. But this went around social media as Scorched Earth interview.
Yeah, well, that's what bugged me because I was watching it.
That's bullshit.
I knew you'd watch it, by the way, so I wasn't concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it to be a too long, didn't watch issue, and I didn't really like this guy, this interviewer, who seems, it's like, hey, I'm on a podcast, so let me just cuss as much as I can because I'm cool.
No, I think you're seeing that completely wrong. He's a Navy SEAL who went through a lot of shit, and she did a piece on him for 60 Minutes.
Yeah, that's where they know each other.
And he's very popular because he's just a dude. Now, at a certain point, it's very cute. So this video is just rolling, and the dog comes in, and then then they just keep rolling while they're trying to get the dog out, and it's very interesting. I liked it a lot. Very interesting to watch. They're really. I don't even think we have. I'll play the clip. It's only 1:45, just because not everyone's heard it. But she goes into great depth about how shit the media is. Everything we say on this show, she agrees with. But she goes much, much further about the lies of the weapons of mass destruction, just all the way, all across the spectrum. It's worth the time if you can to listen to it. I have to say at the same time, it's very easy for her to do this because she's married to a very successful, wealthy guy who is a military contractor. So she's got, those two are kind of made for each other. It's very easy when you know that you can not work ever again. And I think that she probably doesn't want to work for mainstream. I'm sure she's going to maybe she'll start doing a podcast. You never know.
Oh God.
But here's a little excerpt just to give you a taste, but it's well worth watching the whole thing.
And the media everywhere is mostly liberal, not just in the US. But in this country, 85% of journalists are registered Democrats. So that's just a fact, right? No one's registering Democrat when they're rarely a Republican. So the facts are on the side of what you just stated. Most journalists are left or liberal or Democrat or whatever word you want to give it. How do you know you're being lied to? How do you know you're being manipulated? How do you know there's something not right with the coverage? When they simplify it all, and there's no gray. There's no gray. It's all one way. Well, life isn't like that. If it doesn't match real life, it's probably not, something's wrong, right? So, for example, all the coverage on Trump all the time is negative. There's nothing, no mitigating policy or event or anything that has happened since he was elected that is out there in the media that you can read about, right? Well, that tells you that's distortion of the way things go in real life. Because although the media has historically always been left-leaning, we've abandoned our pretense, or at least the effort to be objective today. The former executive editor of the New York Times has a book coming out, Jill Abramson, and she says we would do I don't know, dozens of stories about Trump every single day, and every single one of them was negative. She said, we have become the anti-Trump paper of record. Well, that's not our job. That's a political position. That means we've become political activists, in a sense, and some could argue propagandists, right? And there's some merit to that.
Right.
You know, as I was watching her, she's very petite, she's pretty, huge, really very deep-cut décolleté in this interview, and as she was sitting kind of twisted, and, you know, her breasts are really exposed, and I'm looking like, how did she survive? You know, the bottom line, she's a kick-ass woman, and she uses everything she has as a woman to get the story she wants. I'm incredibly impressed, and it's worth watching. And you can watch a lot of things tonight. You can watch, some Avengers, whatever. Watch this woman. That's my recommendation. It's in the show notes. NAshownotes.com. Sorry?
I mean, the Avengers are on TV tonight?
Let's talk about China for a second. China appears to be in some trouble with the BRI, the Bridge and Road Initiative, also known as Three Belts, No Road. And that's how we look at it.
That's what we call it.
They got trains, they got waterways, they're trying to do all kinds of economic corridors. But there's a little problem, actually kind of a big one looming right now.
I think it is dying. You know, for a very long time, we've been talking about how this is an uneconomic project, that the Chinese can pour a lot of money into it initially, but they can't really create a whole new set of economics that exists nowhere else on this planet. And so I thought at some point the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, would fail, and it's starting to fail now. You know, Xi Jinping can still put more money into it, but really we're sort of close to the end. For the last 4 or 5 months, people in China have been severely questioning the soundness of this, and now those calls are growing louder and louder. And we're seeing something very interesting in Pakistan, where China's committed $60 billion or so to the Pakistan Economic Corridor. The Pakistanis can't pay that back, and China has now got a serious problem about what to do with its big exposure to its next-door neighbor.
This is where it gets very interesting. So Pakistan took $60 billion to let them come in and do some railroad and maybe some fiber, whatever else. Hey, you're our neighbor anyway. Here's $60 billion. And then Pakistan.
I guess it was a loan, because if they want it back.
Right. Well, guess what just happened? This is MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. He's not welcome in many places, but he's welcome in Pakistan.
We believe that Pakistan is going to be a very, very important country in the coming future, and we want to be sure that we are part of that. So we are waiting for that kind of leadership to partner with and to build a lot of things together. Today we signed MOUs. We believe the amount of that kind of investment is $20 billion US.
Saudi Arabia has always been a friend for Pakistan.
This is Khan, the head honcho of Pakistan.
Saudi Arabia has been a friend when Pakistan has needed friends. So Saudi Arabia has always been a friend in need, which is why we value you so much.
Now, this I find on a geopolitical scale very interesting. We have Pakistan, who owes the Chinese $60 billion. The Chinese really need it. In comes Saudi Arabia. Oh, here's $20 billion. You might be able to use that. Don't you see some kind of conflict brewing here? We've got all kinds of shit happening.
First clip, I'm immediately thinking this is about the belt of 3 belts and no roads or whatever, 5. I can't remember what it was. I'm assuming American meddling,
or some orchestration for sure.
I think meddling, and I would take it even further. The CIA lost most of its people in China.
Yeah, you're right.
Due to some foul up at Langley.
Hillary's email.
That could be it. But whatever, it was a huge loss, and I think we're trying to, get back on track over there, and we have to stop the Chinese as fast. I think there's something up, and I think this Ben Salman. Anytime I see Ben Salman going there doing something, I'm thinking Trump, because these guys are like thick as thieves, these two. And so I suspect that this was orchestrated. Now that I'm taking the long view of Trump instead of the short view of Trump, I'm getting very suspicious about some of this stuff.
He's playing 3D chess, man.
With
Don't
the
you
mega
know?
hat on.
He may look dumb, but he may be just as good a warmonger as anybody else. We got hoodwinked.
When you're talking about the, you had Laura on there moaning about the New York Times and the other places. We do have to mention this lawsuit, which is
the kids, the Catholic school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, $250 million.
Funniest thing I've seen for a long time. Where's my clip on this?
Dersh
one talks a little bit about
it. Essentially alleging that the Washington Post is guilty of libel.
Well, I think they have a reasonable case. I mean, the world.
This is Alan Dershowitz. He is a liberal.
Oh, here, no, stop that clip. MAGA Kid overview on Fox. This is a clip that gives the first explanation.
Tonight, lawyers representing Covington Catholic student Nicholas Sandman have just filed a bombshell defamation suit against the Washington Post. Trace Gallagher joining us now with these late-breaking details tonight. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Martha. The 22-page, $250 million lawsuit claims the Washington Post participated in a modern-day form of McCarthyism by targeting and bullying Nick Sandman for 3 days. Sandman's lawyers go on to describe the teen as an innocent secondary school child and accuse the newspaper of ignoring journalistic standards to advance an agenda against President Trump, adding that the Post used its, quote, vast financial resources to enter the bully pulpit by publishing a series of false and defamatory print and online articles which effectively provided a worldwide megaphone to smear a young boy who was, in its view, an acceptable casualty in their war against the president. Sandman was widely criticized and vilified in the media after cell phone video showed him staring down Native American Nathan Phillips. But the Post and numerous other media outlets apparently failed to look at the entire 2 hours of video and used small clips to paint Sandman and his high school classmates as instigators. Turned out the altercation started with a group of black Hebrew Israelites who called the students extremely offensive terms we cannot repeat and also called them crackers and incest children.
So that begins it. And this is, by the way, as this begins, and this is going to continue, stuff like this, Laura Logan and Jill Abramson both have now testified for the defense or the plaintiff, depending on what side these lawsuits are, for the plaintiffs, I guess, because this is now becoming it's becoming a meme. The meme that the media is just a bunch of Trump haters are doing it for everything's political, and they're not even journalists anymore. And Dershowitz addresses this on I don't remember who was on
just
some show.
For everyone, it's important to say Dershowitz is the constitutional lawyer. He was extremely well respected. He's always been the go-to constitutional lawyer for the show. He supported Hillary. He's liberal. He's a Democrat, and he's been completely shunned. He's no longer in the community.
But he still gets on the air.
Oh yeah, must have been Fox.
No, it wasn't. It was the Hill TV, I think.
The Hill TV.
Essentially
there you go.
Yeah, woo!
that the Washington Post is guilty of libel.
Well, I think they have a reasonable case. I mean, the world was guilty of libel. The way people jump to conclusions today without listening to all the facts, these poor kids seem to be doing exactly the right thing. And then suddenly, because they are thought to be white privileged kids, suddenly everybody's ganging up on them. I'd be interested to see how the case unfolds. I mean, they're asking for a lot of money. I don't think that's going to be taken too seriously. I think it's $250 million or something like that. But I do think that they have a significant case, and it would be interesting to see how the Post defends against their reporting in the case. It's important to air this issue out in the public, and one of the functions that a suit like this has is to lay it all out in the public. Look, the media has to be responsible for their reporting, particularly when you have kids who really have no ability generally to defend themselves against media reporting. So I'm interested to see what the Post says and how it justifies a reporting that turned out to be less than accurate.
Well, that was kind of disappointing.
Well, he was.
I expected a little more legal analysis of.
Well, he does
of
bring up a little more. He actually jumps back in with the second clip. They're cutting him off, and then he jumps back in with this.
Going back to something we said earlier, this kid is not a public figure. He didn't choose to run for office. He's a kid in school who's applying for colleges, and his reputation has been diminished in the eyes of some. And I think you have to distinguish between a high school kid and somebody who is the president of the United States or a governor of a state or a justice of the Supreme Court. He didn't choose to be in the situation. It was thrust on him by the circumstances. So I have a lot of sympathy for this young man.
Oh, this now explains why I keep seeing headlines of Nancy Pelosi quietly deletes tweet, which is a great headline, as if someone's going in the dark of night to go in and quietly delete the tweet.
Quietly.
But they all said stuff. And I think, I don't know.
It's too late.
Is there a real lawsuit? Is there real liability here for WAPO?
There's a huge liability.
Yeah, how does it work?
$250 million, he thinks, but you get that kid out, because the kid, when you see him talking on these interview shows where they also didn't help him much, Savannah Guthrie's interview of him was cruel. Very cruel.
Yes,
and I thought she was just heartless.
Yeah, she was horrible.
The kid is a very sympathetic character. If he can go up on stage, I don't think he's going to be able to hold it together. He's just like, he's like a really sensitive kid who would start crying.
Sure.
I mean, their number could go skyrocketing. They have insurance for most of these large publications have liability and slander insurance, libel law insurance. And they can have their policy pulled. And if that happens...
Policy? Oh, their insurance policy.
Yeah, because insurance company's not going to... Insurance company, if this happens and they get beaten up because they're not doing their journalistic job, that's grounds for the insurance company to just pull the policy. And you guys are on your own. And if that happens, the coverage is going to change remarkably. It's going to become this very conservative, ridiculously, I can't say anything. Be careful. The legal, everything's got to go run through legal, which right now it's not being run through legal.
No.
They're just, Trump sucks, and these kids are douchebags, and they don't care what they write. And
so, but just from
out of control at the Post.
From a writer's perspective, what can you not say about? So in these kids specifically, did the Post call them racist? I mean, was it that kind of level?
Yeah.
Well, then they're in trouble for sure. Screw them. I like the number $250 million. Isn't that what Bezos paid for the Post?
Yeah.
That's kind of a funny.
That's probably. Oh, wait a minute. Now that you mentioned, great catch. That's probably why that was the number used.
Yeah, of course. Screw you. That whole place is only worth $250. We'll take you for all you got.
Yeah. Well, they probably won't get that, but I think they'll win.
I hope they win over some celebrities.
Yeah, and they have all these celebrities listed. Those guys haven't got libel
insurance.
Libel.
And I have to say that you were talking earlier about editing. I can recall in 11 years, probably 3 times that after the show you said, we have to cut that out because Adam, said something that was probably libelous.
Oh, I don't think it was more than once.
In 11 years? You've also, during the show itself, said, no, you can't say that. And I've taken it back. Can you do take backsies? Can you do take backsies if it's in real time?
If you libel somebody and it's unintentional, and then you correct yourself on the fly, yes.
Okay, that's good. All right.
I mean, there's certain things you can't say about people, just in general. Now, why am I such an expert? I spent a better part of a day and a half in a libel lawyer's office with Adam Osborne.
From the Osborne computer?
Yeah, because we're writing a book called Hypergrowth, which is a term I coined for the book, and which is now a joke term considering the hypergrowth that came after Osborne computer makes him look like barely growth. Mm-hmm. But Osborne wanted to slam all kinds of people because this was after his company kind of failed because of largely, I think it's his fault for walking away.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went in there and I learned more there in that 2-day seminar, which is what it amounted to, about what you can say, what you can't say, how you can say it, what you can't say about someone. And I see stuff every once in a while. I go, oops, this is libelous. You can't call someone a crook, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
or
that's
criminal.
You've corrected me on that. Yeah,
unless they're a criminal,
right.
You can't do it. You just can't. Oh, the guy's a criminal,
right?
No, unless he's been found guilty in a court of law, you can't call him that. It's libelous, and you just can't do it. But the joke of the libel law is that the guy's dead. You can pretty much do anything you want.
Huh. That's not very funny, but yeah.
It's not very funny. But you can go off the deep end. Now, there have been some recent libel suits by families of dead guys who have been libeled. They think it hurts the family name. There may be some leeway for them to get some right.
So witness the 4-hour documentary of Michael Jackson, where once again the same people are saying he
you can say anything you want. He's
kids.
Dead.
Yeah. Heroes.
Which is a weird part of it, because that's why you see a lot of all this stuff. But a lot of this stuff comes out after
you're dead.
A lot of it's bull crap too.
Yeah, but you can say it. There's no repercussion.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. You don't need to run it through legal.
Now, had anyone, excuse me, and maybe some of you had been listening to this very podcast about 2 years ago, we talked extensively about the Americans for Disabilities Act and how lawsuits were going to come against websites that do not account for people with disabilities, specifically deaf or blind.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry what?
I don't understand what you said.
About 2 years ago, we discussed the Americans with Disabilities Act, in addition, that requires websites to make their content available for people who are blind and or deaf.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, this is a great way to make money. In 2018, 2,250 separate lawsuits have been filed against websites, against big websites too, Domino's Pizza, all kinds of Prada, Michael Kors, Applebee's, PNC Financial Services, and people are making big money on this.
We haven't sued the Dvorak blog.
Well, I think people have to know that there's big money behind the website before they start anything up. Yeah. By the way, breaking news.
Judgment proof.
Breaking news. Iran military leaders disclosed just now that their intelligence operatives have infiltrated a U.S. Army command center and commandeered control of several American drones flying through Syria and Iraq. Brigadier General Amir Ali Hajizadeh, commander of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps Aerospace Force, released information and photographic evidence that Iran claims as proof it was able to take control of several drones. Could this be the false flag we've been waiting for? Or just another?
It depends on what those drones do.
Well, they're the big drones.
The big giant ones.
7 to 8 drones that had constant flights over Syria. Here, quotes. Yes. 7 to 8 drones that had constant flights over Syria and Iraq were brought under our control, and their intel was monitored by us, and we could gain their first-hand intel, the general was quoted saying on Thursday in remarks carried in the country's state-controlled press. That's ramping up.
Now, do we know for a fact that comes from the state-controlled press?
Hell no.
Of course not.
Of course not. It's Free Beacon. Who the hell knows?
Well, who knows what's going on there?
It could be anything. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the internet.
Well, yeah, this could be the false flag if these guys will launch a couple of things and, kill some important people.
Yeah.
We have to take, I can see here Trump now.
Yeah.
Act of war, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, this is coming. This stock market's going to take a dip here, by the way, if this
I think it didn't already dip a little bit today. I think
it's maybe
we're on the precipice. Let's just be honest about it. We're on the precipice.
We're on the precipice.
Nice to see that Bitcoin and gold have been moving almost in tandem. in the past
that's
month.
A plus.
That's very interesting. All right, we're almost ready to take a break. I did want to give you a little update on Brexit. This is not your typical update. Having lived in the United Kingdom of Gitmo Nation East, I've often said the most important thing to the Brits about Brexit. Do you remember what, just in case I hadn't said it enough, what the Brits really are worried about? The only real thing they're worried about is their vacation. It's like, is the pound going to be still going to be valuable enough for me to go on vacation? I love going on vacation.
Blackpool beckons.
Well, for sure. There's a reality show in the UK called Love Island, and it's very similar to a Big Brother. And so imagine a courtyard. There's lots of big bouncy things and fun play toys for the contestants. 4 girls are lounging around in the sun at Love Island, and the topic of Brexit comes up.
What do you think about Brexit?
What's that? Like,
where we're leaving the European Union.
I seriously don't have a clue.
It was to leave the EU, so we wouldn't be part of Europe.
EU,
which would mean like
definitely.
welfare and like things we trade with would be cut down.
So does that mean we won't have any trees?
No. Cheese?
Trees?
Oh. No, that's got nothing to do with it, babe. That's weather.
Why wouldn't we have trees? What are you talking about?
No, we're just not in the European Union. We're still classed as like being in Europe.
Doesn't it mean it would be harder to like go to like Spain and stuff?
So it'd be harder to go on holidays?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I love my holidays.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, my God.
The future of Britain, everybody.
This is a cross-section of the British public.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Let's start with Christopher Newbold in Portland, Oregon, $121.33. And it's his birthday.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
And so he will be 33.
Ooh, magic number. Oh,
is it 30? Yeah, 33.
That's right. Magic number.
I find that to be peculiar. Jamie Scott in Plano, Texas, $111.11. Our buddy Sir Rick in Arlington, Washington, $69.96. Roland Boulder in
Sertogensbos.
Yes, in 68.86.
If you want to be hip, you can also say Den Bosch.
Den Bosch.
There you go.
Baron Mark Tanner in Whittier, California, 6789. Dean Roker, 5510 in the UK, who has to suffer with those people. Ralph Massaro, 5510. Dan Dorling in Eola, Missouri. Dan During, D-O-E-R, 5150. Chris Sundberg, $51 in Mercer Island, Washington. Andrew Benz in Imperial, Missouri, 5005. And now the following people, we're already down here, $50 donors, name and location if applicable. Brad Taylor in Duval, Washington. Daniel LaBoy in Bath, Michigan. George Wojchet in Universal City, Texas. Andrew Gusick in Greensboro, North Carolina. Paul Contramas in Westwood, Massachusetts. David Timmons in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas. And last but not least, the short list. Oh, the whole thing is short.
Mm-hmm.
Like
short.
12.
Like short,
Sir
yeah.
Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus, California. That'd be that. I want to thank these folks for helping us produce show 1114.
Yeah, that was very short. That was one of the shortest donation segments we've ever had.
It was 17.
But we appreciate this. This is, not many people. In fact, we're the only ones so far have been able to do it. This value for value model. We had Sam Harris come close. Oh, by the way,
18 people total.
Sam Harris is a 100 millionaire.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
100 millionaire?
He is the sole heir of the Harris who produced the big TV shows.
I don't know a producer named Harris.
Oh, shoot. It'll come to me.
Okay.
Like Golden Girls. I think Golden Girls.
Oh, okay. I
don't know. Huge money. Yeah, easy to give your show away. But he didn't quite get it right. You need to understand that people attach a value to this program.
If you're worth $100 million, you're probably not putting a lot of effort into it. We're not worth $100 million, and we put effort into it, and we give people value for value.
We're working hard. Let me tell you that. We do work very hard, and we appreciate you equating that to some real value. Also, people who came in under $50 for the reasons of anonymity, and we had the 3333s. Thank you for participating in that. Free hat, invisible hat for you. And everyone else on any other subscriptions. We will have another show on Sunday with the new mobile rig, which, knock on wood, has been holding out pretty good so far, and that will be from Des Moines, Iowa, where we have our meetup as well. And if you want to know about the meetups, go to noagendameetups.com. If you'd like to support the show, go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
As requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And today's the 21st of February, 2019. Here's our birthday list for today. Sir Andy Cottrell of Terrigal Beach says happy birthday to his beautiful daughter, Sophia Cantrell. She turns 13 today. Happy birthday. Noah Wattenmacher turns 33. Actually turned 33 on February 18th. Dwight the Knight says happy birthday to Sir Hank Scorpio. And we say happy birthday to Christopher Newbold. He turns 33 years old today. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. And we've got one title. We've got one knighting. So let's do. Got my blade here. Do you have? I gotta remember to take this with me.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay, I got it right. Let me get it out of here. There you go.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, Todd Rathkamp, step on up to the podium here. Thank you very much for your support of the No Agenda Show, the best podcast in the universe. The amount of $1,000 or more. That gives you a seat at our coveted roundtable of the No Agenda Knights and Dames. So I hereby am very proud to pronounce the KC. Sir Todd, for you, my friend, we have hookers and bow, rent boys and Chardonnay, brandy old fashions and cheese curds by request, cookies and vodka, cross-ship and cane breaks. We got Dr. Pepper and a quick handy, brown cheese and aquavit and Smalhova, Rubenesque woman and rosé. We got geishas and sake, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and mutton and mead. Please go over to noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will happily take care of you.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag.
One title change today. Sir Rob, who would like to remain Sir Rob, becomes a baronet, and we thank him for his courage and for supporting the show. And remember, if you're a knight or a dame and you've got a ring coming, make sure you tweet that out. People do like to see it. And again, thanks everybody for supporting the Value Network. Dvorak.org/NA is where you can complete your value. Okay.
I got a couple things.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I do have a couple of clips from David Icke.
Oh.
Hear about this?
What I heard is he was not allowed to do his speech in Australia.
Yeah, he was, and this is kind of interesting to me. And I'm wondering about this.
And why? What the hell is wrong?
Pulled.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
Well, there's a show on 10 in the morning, and they had him on, and then all they did was accuse him of being an anti-Semite. Did you notice that he was?
Well, yeah, that's the new thing, man. It works everywhere. Works everywhere.
Well, let's play a couple of these clips, and I have a couple of questions. The Icke and Oz 1.
David Icke, live in studio. The British former soccer player was set to make his 11th visit to Australia to do a speaking tour. You guys have heard of him, right?
Exactly. Perhaps not everybody has. It's been suggested. He's been accused of having some really anti-Semitic views, some strange...
Is that because, it's probably because the Elders of Zion or some shit like that. He talked about it, and then you automatically...
They never get to the bottom of it.
Sci-fi implications with reptiles on Earth.
Well, he was supposed to come to Australia, but late yesterday he had his visa cancelled. It's believed he's been banned from entering our country because of claims he is anti-Semitic and is a Holocaust denier. David Icke joins us now live from Los Angeles for this TV exclusive. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I wish I was with you.
Now, I guess the first things first, let's clear it up. Are you anti-Semitic? And do you deny that the Holocaust took place?
Hey, do you hate Jews?
Hey, hold on a second.
A great question.
Here's the funny thing about I got him finished saying, I don't deny the Holocaust, and he says Holocaust. It doesn't matter what he says. They keep hounding him. Everyone who comes on keeps asking him just the most insulting questions. The show, I think mornings on 10 or whatever. I'm not sure what the show, I don't watch Australian TV that much, but it's one of those, shows that with the talking heads. And there's one male on there. He is incredibly insulting. I don't even know who the hell you are, but you hate Jews, don't you?
Jeez.
So.
First things first, let's clear it up. Are you anti-Semitic, and do you deny that the Holocaust took place?
No, you see, if you can't discredit someone by telling the truth and you tell lies, there was an absolute catastrophe for Jewish people in Nazi Germany. And one of the things that I'm seeking to do and have done for 30 years is to highlight the Nazi mentality and the tyrannical mentality that's taking away freedoms all over the world. So, ironically, I'm the opposite of how I'm painted. There was a Labour Party candidate, I think his name's Josh Burns or something, who was quoted in the newspapers in the last week saying that I am campaigning for Holocaust denial to be taught in the schools.
So you believe the Holocaust did happen?
This is extraordinary.
So you believe the Holocaust
did
happen?
Of course a fantastic catastrophe happened for Jewish people in Nazi
You're not
Germany.
actually answering the question. Did the Holocaust happen? You keep saying catastrophe. That's the difference to Holocaust. Just clear that up. Is it a catastrophe or a Holocaust?
Am I denying the Holocaust happened? No, I'm not.
Okay. Now that's the premise. That starts off, am I denying the Holocaust? No, I am not. But that doesn't stop these people.
What? Wait, there's more?
Yeah, we got more clips. I actually have. It gets shorter, but just go to number 2.
The debate is being shut down. You have to believe certain narratives. 2 of the things, by the way, that the Minister for Immigration, David Coleman,
what?
The key is coming up. And before you play this, the rest of it, this key, I've been starting to see it. I go to the Dimension B and look at the tweet posts, and this now gotten to the point where if you say anything about global warming,
you're a
Jew
hater. Yeah.
Go. The Minister for Immigration, David Coleman, put in the statement for me not being allowed in was my views on vaccines and global warming. But let's have a debate then. Instead of shutting it down, you must believe this or you're not coming in the country. And as David Coleman admitted quite openly in this document, I have come into Australia to speak 10 times since 1997, and he admits in the document there's never been a problem. So why now?
Don't be a denier. The science is in. Science.
That's where a lot of this comes from. You're a climate denier, and that immediately conjures up Holocaust denier. That's where
the connection has been made.
Yes.
And the connection has been made, and you're stuck with it. And this is the same group of people that, if you remember that early panic about climate change, people saying, well, people who deny climate change is real should be arrested and imprisoned.
Well, hold on. The New York Times printed yesterday, British author and broadcaster David Icke, who critics accuse of anti-Semitism and of being a conspiracy theorist, notice how those are in the same sentence now, has had his Australian visa cancelled ahead of a speaking tour. The 66-year-old said from the United States on Wednesday that the Australian government had, quote, insulted every Australian man, woman, and child by cancelling his tour scheduled to start on March 1st. Immigration Minister David Coleman says he does not discuss individual cases. Those who have been denied, so this is just the immigration minister did not say this apparently. Those who have been denied Australian visas on character grounds include troubled R&B singer Chris Brown, convicted classified document leaker Chelsea Manning, anti-vaxxer Kent Heckenlively, and Gavin McGuinness, founder of the all-male far-right group Proud Boys. Visitors can be refused visas if there is a risk that they will, quote, vilify a segment of the Australian community or incite discord.
Now, one thing that jumped out at me, Ike is a British citizen. Yeah. Australia's in the Commonwealth. You don't need a visa to go to Australia from the UK.
I don't know if that's... Well, you need a work visa for sure. And that's probably what this is about. You cannot just go work in Australia without a work visa, or anywhere for that matter.
Well, but you can go work in Spain
with a work visa.
No, not with the EU. As they're members of the EU.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's almost over.
But that's not over. You can go work in Spain. So during the period, you can go work in Spain. You can go work in France. You can go work in Poland. Yeah, or Polish people can work in the UK. Well, that's going on. You can't go to Australia without a work visa? Are you kidding me? Is that the way it was set up?
Not if you're a conspiracy theorist. We don't want your kind around.
Bull crap as far as I'm concerned.
We don't want your kind around here, son.
All right, let's go to 3.
Okay. Speaking of crazy, David, do you believe that the world is being manipulated by shape-shifting reptiles that are possibly Jews who control the world through Rothschild?
Jews.
Is that
basically
it?
I love Jews. Just some Jews control the world.
People would have to read my books for the detail about that. But let me say this. I'm saying
that's a yes?
That there are
Oh my God, what got into them? Who did he piss off? I've never heard this line of questioning. He seems like such a nice guy. People may think he's wacky, but this is new.
There are family bloodlines that were seeded all over the world. And the ancient culture.
Oh, geez, he's going to try on morning TV and try and do his 4-hour talk in 40 seconds. Mistake.
By who?
The ancient cultures, well, by a non-human force. This is where you get in the Bible, for instance, the sons of God are interbred with the daughters of men, which is a story that you find in cultures all over the world,
so
whether it's the African culture or whatever.
People all over the world a long time ago, and they are resulting in being human forms, and they are lizards. You've been watching way too much V in the 80s.
You've not been doing enough research into the background. That's the problem. But the point is that I'm saying that these bloodlines were seeded everywhere in every culture. So where's this? Their Jews
come from? What, do they take their face off when they go to bed, or what?
Sorry, I thought I was going to have an intelligent conversation.
Really?
Here. Clearly not.
David,
are we going to have an intelligent conversation or what?
David,
what do you think?
I don't agree with a lot of what you said. I don't agree with your stance on immunisation. Let me finish for 1 second. I don't agree with your thoughts on climate change or reptilian people.
What I'm saying.
But what I do agree with is that you should actually be able to speak, because we live in a democracy, and I am a big supporter of free speech. And I think what happens when the government then stops people like you coming to the country to talk and to have their say, it actually emboldens people who support you, and then they jump on the bandwagon that the government is trying to shut down free speech. And there is a conspiracy theory to shut down free speech.
Well, no, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's happening right before your very eyes. This guy's not allowed to speak in your country. Oh, by the way, let's have all these other crazy morons come in to promote their science fiction movies. Who gives a shit? What is the problem?
2 short clips left in this, and then I have one other little series.
I think there's certainly an argument for free speech, David. I must confess I had not heard of you until I found out that you'd been banned. But I still feel like we haven't actually established the core reason, which is why Josh Burns and members of the Jewish community petitioned the minister to ban you. Do you actually believe that between 6 and 12 million Jews were killed by the Nazis and the Germans in World War II?
Oh, my God. Oh, let me guess. He answers the question.
Between 6 and 12 million.
Yeah.
Well, It could have been 5.5 million. It could have been 6 million. It could have been 6.5
millions. Do you believe millions of Jews were killed by the Nazis?
A vast number of people died, quite clearly, in concentration camps run by Nazis, which
not just concentration camps, they were rounded up and shot like animals.
Oh, jeez.
Which shut down the ability to expose what they were doing. If the Nazis had not have shut down opposition, how much of what was going on in Nazi Germany would people have known earlier? And maybe a lot of that would not have happened.
No, good point. I'm sure it was lost on them.
Oh, no. And by the way, this continued, and it was the same thing. No matter what he said, you hate Jews, you hate... And then they kept bringing in global warming. Well, the Australians seem to be all in on global warming to such an extreme.
Well, hold on.
It's almost embarrassing.
We got to play a jingle. And you wonder if we should ever do the tour in Australia. I can see it coming down Broadway. Mr. Curry, we don't think we don't want you.
Now, I have two clips from a weekend show that's done on Fox, and they had on Patrick J. Michaels, and you can look him up. Mm-hmm. Patrick J. Michaels is probably one of the top climatologists in the world.
Oh, is he backpedaling?
Sorry?
Is he backpedaling?
No, he's not backpedaling. He was never in on the deal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So he's a denier.
Mm-hmm.
And so but he's got great credentials. And Mark Levin brought him on this little weird Sunday show that he does on Fox. It's very obscure. Nobody watches it. But I got two clips from this guy, and I think it's that we should need to review this. And this is why nobody will debate this guy. Nobody will bring this stuff up because everyone's so all in on the climate change scam that it's never going to come up in the conversation. But I think this is worth listening to. This is Patrick J. Michaels on Global Warming 1.
Because when the planet warmed beginning in 1976, the temperature of the stratosphere started to drop. And that's a prediction of greenhouse theory that's not intuitive. You know, the great philosopher of science, Karl Popper, said, if you can meet a difficult prediction with your theory, you can continue to entertain your theory. So the theory's right, but the application of it is wrong. It is nowhere near as warm as it's supposed to be. The computer models are making systematic, dramatic errors over the entire tropics, which is 40% of the Earth, and it's where all our moisture comes from, or almost all of it.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Who does these computer models?
Governments. There are 32 families of computer models that are used by the United Nations, each government-sponsored, and all of them are predicting far, far too much warming. The disparity between what's been predicted to happen, which looks like this, and what is happening continues to grow.
We know that for a fact.
Yeah, because you can just look at the weather balloon temperatures, you can look at the satellite temperatures, you can look at something called the reanalysis data. They all behave in concert. So they're showing the same thing. And the same thing is a lot different than this thing. However, one model works. And you know what it is? It's the Russian model.
So let me get this. So all the government models are like this?
Yeah.
The Russian model is like this?
Yeah. The Russian model has the least warming in it.
And the Russian model is the least warming, and the Russian model pretty much follows reality.
Yeah.
What's been tested over a few decades.
Yeah, correct. You know, if we were rational about this, think about the daily weather forecast. You know, you watch the Weather Channel, they go, oh, this model says that model says that. We think this one's working the best, so we're going to rely on that. Well, for climate forecasts, we should be using the Russian model, but we're not. We use this big spate of all the other models that have this warming in them that's not occurring.
Shut up already. It's science.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the Russian model isn't bought and paid for by a bunch of people throwing money at climate scientists to make sure that those numbers are high for some ulterior motive. But he goes on with a little more details about these models. And I think this brings us right back to ClimateGate.
Why are all these other government models, 31 of them, I guess,
yeah,
wrong? And why do they all go in the same direction, up?
Because they are what is called parameterized. They're all
P-values.
parameterized. Can I translate parameterized into English? Fudged.
Okay.
The don't get the right answer, don't know the right answer for certain phenomena. So we essentially put in code steps that give us what we think it should be. And the systematic error that was made was the models were tuned, as it said, tuned to simulate the warming of the early 20th century. Began in 1910, ended in 1945, about 0.45 degrees Celsius. Mark, that could not have been caused by carbon dioxide.
Because there wasn't enough.
We had to put enough in. The background carbon dioxide concentration is 280 parts per million. When the first warming started, it was 298 parts per million. If the atmosphere is that sensitive to an 18 ppm change in CO2, we wouldn't be talking about this right now, and we'd be sweating bullets.
Yeah.
But no, we can't talk about that on PBS.
Small.
We won't bring this guy on PBS because Al Gore told them not to.
Yeah, small aviation, stay away from it. Hot tubs, stay out of them. Don't go canoeing anywhere.
He's already got his stuff out and published.
Yeah.
But this was a classic example of
That's
the
great.
bull crap
That
going
was
on
really
that
good.
nobody wants to talk about because there's ulterior motives, vested interests, there's money to be made, there's carbon tax,
yeah,
and all the other crap that even the French know is a bunch of bull crap, and they're still rioting about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the carbon tax. That's the one thing I think it's just the stragglers who are still trying to do that because it's kind of dead. Then I don't think they'll ever really get that. Just doesn't seem like since
the whole thing is dead.
Yeah, it's no path to growth. The pocketbook is closed. We should close the gate.
To the gate, to the gate, to the climate gate.
And let's see. I got a little OTG news here that I'd like to share with y'all. A couple of things. Los Angeles Times actually had a nice article about how your television and phone are tracking you, and particularly at hello. But no, they talk specifically about geofencing at political campaigns.
Yeah.
And how they do this cross-device tracking, which we've talked about, which is the inaudible high-frequency tones that will emit that'll emit from your phone to your computer or vice versa, so they can figure out who you are. Yeah, it's a great article. A little late, I'd say, but the story
a little late, to say the least.
The story of the week was definitely this one.
Google admitting it made an error after initially failing to reveal that its home security system, Nest Secure, contained a built-in microphone. Many Nest users were unaware of the feature. The microphone was never listed as part of the product's tech specifications. So Google's saying the microphone was, quote, never intended to be a secret, Wilf, and that basically it added it into the device for future capabilities. But, I mean, even so, many people probably not realizing that they had this, in their devices, in their home. Maybe they wouldn't have bought it if they had known.
I totally agree. I mean, and this is not the moment for big tech companies to have a sort of another challenge to people's trust in them. And I guess there's sort of two levels to this. Do people worry that it listens and it can be hacked? Or more concerning would be that Google did intend it to be secret and they were listening in a long time, which of course they deny both. And either way, not good timing, data privacy, to have this kind of story come out for them.
Oh, geez, not good timing. Oh,
this is the kind of dumb crap that Google has done for years.
And
they just take everything for granted. Oh, no, who cares? Let's put it in there.
I remember being on Twit when I was still living in Los Angeles. I said, you should not install this, what later became Google Voice. Said they have all these plugins that are running in your browser so they can access your microphone. And went, ha, 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 Google would never do that. Don't be evil. And they called me a crazy conspiracy theorist, I tell you. Yeah, there you go. What else is going on in Silicon Valley? Oh, yes, this one YouTuber, he figured out something interesting with the algos. Where he calls it the wormhole, or I don't know, I'll just say the algo trap. That there's a huge contingent, a community perhaps, of soft-core child pornography sharers and viewers. And once you get it, you got to see this guy's video.
Isn't that called Reddit?
No, it's interesting on YouTube. And once you there's like 13-year-old girls who are just in their bedrooms just doing stupid shit. But then these sickos, they come in and they will time code where there's like a naked thigh or something. It's really it's creepy. But here's the creepy part. The minute you start looking at one or two of those videos, which this guy shows, then the algos kick in, and there's nothing but all of these, teenage, underage girls in their bedrooms and all these creeps in the comments sharing other videos and time codes. So he makes a big deal out of this because there's ads running on him. And immediately, Disney, Nestle, all pulling their ads. Or they say...
Because they got busted.
They're on hold. Yeah, they're on hold. But the problem is, you can't do anything about it. I mean, why shouldn't teenage girls be able to do a little movie about whatever they're doing? The parents should be notified of what's going on, but they're not doing anything illegal, so you can't kick them off. You see the problem? This is the issue of monetizing the network. This is not the way to go. It's all coming crumbling down. And I think Disney and Nestle, they're pretty big in the
child porn?
Yeah, big. This is not true. That's not good. No, they're pretty big advertisers.
They're big advertisers. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, it came out a little different. Yes. I thought that was a very delectable little thing that happened there. Idiots. Good luck, people.
Well, actually, I don't even blame Disney and Nestle. These are the ad buyers for their ad agencies. It's responsibility.
Yeah, true.
Place the ads. Disney and Nestle just turn it over to somebody that's supposed to be trustworthy.
Right.
But I don't know what they're thinking. It's a good way to get fired, by the way.
I have a... Oh, yes.
In fact, I'm surprised the reporters who did all that damage to that poor little kid that was standing up with the MAGA hat on, they didn't get fired.
Suspended or fired, sure. It's not going to happen.
Good work.
Orange man bad. The Trump rotation, TrumpRotation.com, everybody. That's where you can find out what is in rotation for negativity about the president. I believe I have a new entry. This was unexpected. So I thought we pretty much had it all covered. John, if you'll get the list, I'll play the clip. This is Alison Camerota from CNN with Brian Seltzerwater. And there is a new accusation that can go straight into rotation.
Yes, but the problem is, and this is one of the very unique things about President Trump, he's humorless. He is humor impaired. This is not an original thought today. He has never been captured laughing on any camera of any kind. Has never made a joke, at least not a funny one. He's humor impaired. And so, I mean, name a time.
Humor impaired.
He's massively humor impaired. So he doesn't, I don't know if he can't think like Chuck Schumer is to go back with a quip and say something funny and self-deprecating.
I see what you're saying.
There you go. Humorless. Humor impaired.
I'm looking at the list now.
I don't think it's on the list.
The thing is, it's like it was. I forgot who it was. Jordan Peterson said 1 out of 3 people have no sense of humor, but Trump thinks he's funny, and he does funny material when he does his long lectures.
He's certainly been on camera laughing.
And I've seen him on camera laughing a lot. So these guys. So first of all, what we learn here is that neither one of these people have actually watched one of the Trump presentations to the large crowds.
Well, Alison Camerota, she certainly has. She certainly has seen him.
I don't believe it now.
Well, screw them, idiots. Hey, you were I was looking for this clip, and I'm glad I found it. This ties into the anti-Semitism and not being allowed to go into Australia for David Icke. The Yellow Vests in France still participating. They have not stopped. They have not really even slowed down. They keep protesting against the government. There's a new tactic for these guys. This is BBC.
President Macron arrived at the annual dinner for Jewish leaders amid a spate of anti-Semitic attacks in France. He said Parliament would vote on a new law to tackle hatred on the internet, vowed to dissolve 3 extreme right groups, and made a key commitment that many had been waiting for. Anti-Zionism was a modern form of anti-Semitism, he said, and France would apply the definition adopted by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Nona Meyer is an expert in anti-Semitism at one of France's top political science universities, Sciences Po.
it's interesting because you see two peaks, actually. The first peak is linked to what's going on in the occupied territories in Palestine and Israel. Then the second peak was in November, when started the social movement of the Yellow Vests, because they favor the words of people who are against the state and then against the Jews because they assimilate the Jews to power and money and influence. So the movement helps recycle old stereotypes against Jews, even if the movement in itself is not anti-Semitic, of course.
I thought this was unbelievable. How can you twist something like that to say this?
Pretty wild.
It's like, wow. So because people are protesting, because they're pissed off, because they're protesting people with power. Power equals Jews, anti-Semitic, you anti-Semitic horrible people with your yellow vest. I mean, from the yellow vest community. They're openly yellow vested. It's just, this has got this brazen.
So who was this again? What was the background of this?
It was BBC and
BBC is these all the news media is this way.
Mm-hmm.
They are just out of control with their analysis.
And there's just a lot of anti-Semitism here, anti-Semitism there.
Well, that's the latest.
Right now, it's in rotation.
Going on as we speak.
I only have one more. Unless you got something else, I got one last clip.
Well, I've got a couple. I got a couple short ones. Let me do a short one here, just a 9-second one, which is somebody else recorded. They recorded it off the TV with a regular microphone, but I thought you could hear it. And it's got a cat in it meowing, which is fine, but it's a Jeopardy clip.
In 1937, Kraft changed everything by combining these two ingredients in a box.
Oh, I'll take 100, John.
Doug, we're macaroni and cheese, right?
Yeah, Depression-era food. Wasn't that the category? Depression-era food?
1937. I didn't realize that was the year that they boxed it.
And it's still killing children today. Good work. I'm sorry. It's not killing children.
It's not killing children.
No, there's no silica in there. There's no pieces of plastic or anything. It's good.
Chunks of God knows what.
Good. It's cheap cheddar melted together.
2 for 50 cents at the grocery outlet the other day in a box.
Yeah.
Generic.
I got to call Tucker Carlson out as a huge douchebag. Yeah.
Douchebag.
He's been doing this anti-weed thing for months. And I don't know what his problem is. You know, hey, you don't like weed, don't smoke it.
He picked it up from O'Reilly.
Well, it's very annoying, and he did it again last night, and he brought back an old favorite, which was bullshit the first time we heard it happening in the UK.
Well, as you know, if you've been paying any attention at all, there's literally nothing cooler than marijuana. Cool people smoke weed.
By the way, first of all, that's true. Second of all, I have standing in this area. I am a heavy user of the holy herb, so I'm allowed to comment.
And that's why.
Hold on. This is an example of sarcasm without correction.
What do you mean?
If you just take that out of context, he's a big marijuana advocate. This is the kind of thing the right does. This is Ben Shapiro. And all these guys, they make these sarcastic remarks as though it's fact, but you're supposed to understand he's being sarcastic.
Oh,
which you don't necessarily do.
Yeah, it's very sarcastic. It's just also unscientific. Well, the whole thing is
just bullshit. But besides that,
yeah, you're right. It's the method.
It's that kind of sarcasm that really does not help right wingers to get their point across.
Well, as you know, if you've been paying any attention at all, there's literally nothing cooler than marijuana. Cool people smoke weed, and that's why total legalization nationwide seems inevitable. But as marijuana use rises, a mysterious illness called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome is affecting some heavy users. Not a lot is known about this, but symptoms include what they're calling scromiting, an uncontrollable wave of screaming and vomiting.
So we heard about this scromiting, but we came and went real quick, by the way. They were trying to do this thing in the UK. The emergency rooms are filled with people scromiting. We have to scream.
This is just a lie.
Thank you.
Might be worth learning more considering the ubiquity of marijuana. So we're joined by Fox contributor Dr. Mark Siegel.
Oh, the doctor is in.
Our in-house doctor. We're grateful to have him. Dr. Siegel, what is this?
Well, Tucker, we use marijuana to decrease nausea and pain medicinally, medically. But as is in anything in medicine, when you start using a lot of it, you get the reverse effect.
Bullshit. Please. Oh, wait a minute. So if I take aspirin for a headache, but I take too much aspirin, then I'm going to get a headache again? Is this what this doctor is saying?
Yeah, that's what he says.
Medicinally, medically. But as is in anything in medicine, when you start using a lot of it, you get the reverse effect than you actually want. So this is for chronic pot smokers out there.
Me.
Places where it's recreational. We see a ton of this in Colorado, by the way, in flooding emergency rooms. Probably over 3 million people in the United States are affected. Because what happens is the pot, when you start using a lot of it, turns off the receptors in the nerves that are supposed to suppress nausea and pain. So you're nauseous, you're in pain, and the only thing that works for this, Tucker, is hot showers.
This is great.
It floods the receptors. It turns them back on. You go back to normal, but you got to be in the shower for 6 hours. Guess what the cure is?
This is insane. I've grew up in Amsterdam. I've been smoking weed since I was 13. I've never seen this, and I smoke the new stuff. There's not a problem. I don't know anyone who's ever exhibited this, but apparently hospital emergency rooms flooded. 3 million people to the brim.
You go back to normal, but you got to be in the shower for 6 hours. Guess what the cure is? Stop smoking pot. Kamala Harris out there, stop smoking pot. That's the cure.
Oh, the doctor's he's writing his own jokes now. Kamala Harris, stop smoking pot.
I talk a lot about long-term effects in terms of behavioral changes, judgment, how you do on exams, effects on the lungs. This is a big one, and I'll tell you the biggest take-home here. People misdiagnose this all the time. Tucker, people have had their gallbladders taken out by mistake because they come to an emergency room vomiting uncontrollably, and even doctors are not used to this. But over 3 million people, and as we zoom up to more than 10 million who are chronically smoking pot nationwide, we're going to see more and more of this. This is a terrible side effect, pain and vomiting. And it's a warning for people out there. There is no free lunch here.
Oh, my God. This is, and you know, the visuals they show, the Tucker has the same visuals as some hippie with cruddy hair and cruddy, dirty fingernails, and they zoom in on him trying to roll this joint, and he lights it, and it's all lighting askew, and he takes some saliva, and he's trying to stop it from burning the wrong way. It's a really disgusting clip. And I don't understand. What is his problem? Who pissed in his cornflakes? And besides this being completely unscientific. Doctor
O'Reilly was the same, had the same bit, and he has replaced O'Reilly. And I think they came to the conclusion that the suits must have gotten, they said this worked for O'Reilly because he does a lot of O'Reilly's bits. He has like a word, he has a beginning, and he's restructured the show so it's less just slamming some poor sucker who's stupid enough to come on.
Right.
So it's more like an O'Reilly style show. And so some suits said, hey, O'Reilly hated pot, and let's just use that, just keep with that audience because we want to keep cultivating the pot-hating audience. So can we put a little more anti-pot stuff in there?
That's really sad, though.
Don't you think that could be the only reason? Because he doesn't look like a guy who gives a crap about pot one way or the other.
Tucker is anti-pot, and I don't know why.
I don't believe it.
Nah, he's always doing these segments.
But yes, because it's the O'Reilly show. He's for that audience.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's what it is.
Well, I mean, that's my theory. I mean, I think that there's nothing else to explain it. He's never been, he's never done anything before that was a big deal. Okay, I got one last thing then. This is how much rain is in California in February so far this year.
Oh, I can't wait to find out. It's probably been a lot.
Meteorologist Mike Nico, the rain finally over. Have you looked outside? Plenty of sunshine for your President's Day. Hopefully you're having a great holiday. You're probably wondering, how much rain have we received this month? It's got to be a lot, and I think the numbers will really startle you. How about this? According to the National Weather Service, 18 trillion gallons.
Is that a lot? Is that considered a lot?
250% over our normal allowance. No. I mean, the droughts are over. Everything has been fixed. The droughts that were going to last for the next 10 years, they were fixed a few years ago, too. Then it droughted up again, which it'll do. But it's just like everything's full to the brim. They have to release a lot of stuff. They're worried sick that this happens in L.A. is going to blow the place up. And
mudslides in your future.
Well, there's that.
Well, everybody, we went a little over today. However, I would like to have you stick around for Rulfi Productions, Tom Starkweather, and what is the third one by? The third one, I don't know who made that one. It might be Secret Agent Paul, I'm not sure. Those are our mixers for end of show, and I'm coming to you from downtown Austin, Tejas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6 in the governmental maps. While it still lasts in the 5x9 Cludio, in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the sun is shining and all is well, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday, part of the show from Des Moines, Iowa. Until then, remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And as always, adios, mofos! And such.
Donate to a No Agenda. They give us shows week after week. Donate to a No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to a No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to a No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
Run into this German girl. Yes, hello, my name is Bill. Hi, I'm here to take your order. I run into this German girl. Yes, hello, my name is Bill. Hi, I'm here to take your order. I run into this German girl. Yes, hello, my name is Bill. Hi, I'm here to take your order. I run into this German girl. Yes, hello, my name is Bill. Hi, I'm here to take your order. I run into this German girl.
No.
Agenda.
In the morning?
It is the best podcast in the universe. The value.
Value.
Model. Enabling. Stunning. News. Analysis.
Without
integrity. Compromising. Advertisers.
For more than
11 years. Listen live on Thursday.
And Sunday.
First stop, Beijing. First stop, Chipotle. First stop, La Vita. Oh no. First stop, Kazakhstan. First stop, Beijing. First stop, Chipotle. First stop, La Vita. Weaver, we much resist. Fran Drescher, La Vita, we much resist. Kubrick's, we much resist. And Antonine Scalia, up, down, about, down, about, down. We jitty, shadow down, La Vita, up, down, jitty.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Wow. I am really high.